Minister of Water, Land and Natural Resources of Malaysia and our distinguished guests of iCOP 2019. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise. From UPM for doa recital.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh dan salam sejahtera. A'udzubillahi minasyaitonirrajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Allahumma antal azizul jalil. Sesungguhnya kami menadah tangan menzahirkan rasa kesyukuran atas iradat dan kudrat-Mu yang telah menentukan dan mengizinkan kami untuk berhimpun pada pagi yang berbahagia ini. Allahumma ya Hakim ya Azim, berkatilah dan permudahkanlah perjalanan program ini. Jadikanlah ia seumpama sebuah taman di antara taman-taman syurga. Berikanlah peluang kepada kami untuk bertukar-tukar idea, ilmu dan pandangan dalam mewujudkan budaya penyelidikan yang menyumbang ke arah pembentukan Universiti Penyelidikan. Dan jadikanlah program ini sebagai pencetus inovasi, isu-isu dan cabaran ke arah kemampanan pendidikan. Justru berkatilah program kami, berkatilah jua usaha-usaha kami, ilhamkanlah dalam fikiran dan minda kami idea-idea yang bernas, pandangan-pandangan yang jelas dan keputusan-keputusan yang waras. Kurniakanlah kepada kami limpahan ilmu yang berguna dan kefahaman yang benar. Satukanlah hati-hati kami, eratkanlah silaturahim di kalangan kami, padukanlah tenaga dan usaha kami untuk memartabatkan pendidikan bangsa secara bersama demi mencapai kecemerlangan dan kegemilangan. Allahumma ya alim wa ya kabir, jadikanlah kami ya Allah dari kalangan hamba-hamba-Mu yang taat dan bersyukur. Jauhilah kami ya Allah dari melanggari perintah-Mu. Kurniakanlah apa kiranya ya Allah kepada kami kesihatan yang berpanjangan, kesejahteraan yang sempurna, fikiran yang waras, minda yang cergas, rezeki yang halal, zuriat dan generasi yang beriman, serta segala kebaikan dunia pun jua di hari akhirat kelak. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Thank you, Mr. Muhammad Ramzi. Universiti Putra Malaysia. Professor Hon Wei Min, Deputy Vice Chancellor Academic, UOW Malaysia KDU. Mr. Shankar Anak Lelaki Sativelu, Deputy Vice Chancellor Administration, UOW Malaysia KDU. Professor Dr. Ahmad Ainuddin bin Nuruddin, Director of Institute of Tropical Forestry and Forest Products, INTROP, Universiti Putra Malaysia. Associate Professor IR Dr. Muhammad Tariq bin Haji Hamid Sultan, Chairman of iCOP 2019. Dr. Nur Anida binti Arifin and Dr. Siva Jyoti Anak Lelaki Paramasiva, Co-Chair of iCOP 2019. Distinguished guests, keynote speakers, invited speakers, members of the media, presenters, participants, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Universiti of Wollongong Malaysia KDU for the first International Conference on Orthotics and Prosthetics iCOP 2019 with the theme Empowering Disability Through Technology. To start our ceremony this morning, I would like to invite the Chairman of iCOP 2019, Associate Professor IR Dr. Muhammad Tariq bin Haji Hamid Sultan to deliver his welcoming speech. Please.
Yang berhormat Tengku Zulpuri Shah bin Raja Puri, Deputy Minister of Water, Land and Natural Resources, Vice Chancellor of UOW Malaysia KDU University College, Professor Hugh Pang Liang, Deputy Vice Chancellor of Research and Innovation, Universiti Putra Malaysia, Professor Dr. Zulkifli Idrus, keynote speakers, invited speakers, conference participants, staff members, and members of the public. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the entire iCOP 2019 Organizing Committee, it is a great pleasure that I welcome all of you to the first International Conference on Orthotic and Prosthetic iCOP 2019. This first International Conference on Orthotic and Prosthetic iCOP 2019 marking a great collaboration between reputable universities such as Universiti Putra Malaysia, University of Malaya, KDU University College, Universiti Teknologi MARA, where our minister, our YB is the alumni of UITM, University of Bath, United Kingdom, and International Society of Prosthetics and Orthotics. We aim to create a platform to share experiences, to build partnerships, and to explore innovative solutions for the benefit of patients and the key players of engineering, technology, and industry in the field of orthotic and prosthetic. Wabi, the conference is themed Empowering Disability Through Technology. This event will host an exhibition both from the industry and the medical partners, which will open our eyes to the new technologies, new possibilities, new solutions, new opportunities in the development of orthotic and prosthetic products and services. In fact, a breakthrough research has been carried out whereby the prosthetic socket that was made of natural resources, known as knaf, is being displayed here in this conference. YB, for your information, this is not the first time Universiti Putra Malaysia has been working with your ministry. There are a lot of success stories that Universiti Putra Malaysia has been done, basically in the community engagement project, where Universiti Putra Malaysia has won few international and national awards from the engagement that we have done with your esteemed ministry, YB. It is a pleasure, YB, for me to be here this morning and have the opportunity of sharing with you some views regarding the status of the orthotic and prosthetic. For your kind information, there are very few service providers to provide adequate service to the ever-increasing handicapped population. This results in delay for the patient, basically for the limbs and orthotic devices. It also shows the trend that lower the quality of appliances provided, in that the demand of time alter the care and the fabrication. Thus, an intensive and organized effort to attract intelligence from the young generation into the profession is very much needed. This should be an all-out effort conducted as a function of our nation organization and extending into all areas of the country. Young generation at every universities or college in the nation should be made aware of the fascinating potential which exists in this profession, being as it is a common merging ground for the science of medicine and engineering. So this conference here is not only highlighting the value of medical, but it's also enlightening and showing up the engagement from the engineers, the engineering part that actually works together with the medical line, so that we produce something good, something better, something useful for the patient. I would like to take this opportunity to express my heartfelt thanks to all the participants, keynote speakers, and the exhibitors for your very active participation and support. Besides that, I sincerely appreciate iCOP 2019 committee members, especially from KDU, Dr. Pravina, Dr. Tan, Dr. Cheng, technologist Nejan Trau, Mr. Kenneth, and Mr. Dhul Helmi, and not forgetting other team members from UITM, UPM, University of Bath, so on and so forth, for their dedication and commitment towards the first international conference on orthotic and prosthetic iCOP 2019. Your work is truly commendable. I sincerely hope that you will enjoy the first international conference on orthotic and prosthetic iCOP 2019. With the best wishes for a successful conference. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you very much, Associate Professor Dr. Muhammad Tariq, for the speech.
Professor Yu Bang Liang, Vice Chancellor, University of Wollongong, Malaysia KDU University College, Deputy Vice Chancellor of Research and Innovation, Universiti Putra Malaysia, Professor Dr. Zulkifli Idrus, Associate Professor IR Dr. Muhammad Tarif Haji Hamid Sultan, Conference Chairman, Keynote Speakers, Invited Speakers, Conference Participants, Staff Members, and members of the public. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and every good morning. Salam sejahtera, salam Malaysia baru, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, please allow me to extend my Please allow me to extend warmest regard from YB Datuk Dr. Xavier Jayakumar, Minister of Water, Land and Natural Resources. Unfortunately, today he cannot come. Then I will read the message from him. First of all, I would like to convey my appreciation and gratitude for inviting me to the very first international conference on orthotic and prosthetic. I am truly honored and delighted to be joining the prosthetic and orthotic experts from across the region today. I was made informed that this is very first time that the conference dedicated to the field of the PNO is being organized in Malaysia. I would like to congratulate all the conference committee members who have made this event a success. I'm also happy to know that this conference will commemorate the mark of a collaboration between Universiti of Wollongong, Malaysia KDU, and Prosthetics public universities such as Universiti Putra Malaysia, Universiti Malaya, and Universiti Teknologi MARA. The theme of the conference, which is Empowering Disability Through Technology, is an applied theme as the conference provides a platform to researchers, P&O experts, and the users to discover a latest technology that has been incorporated in this field. For instance, there is a breakthrough research that is being displayed here by Knaf fiber, a material made from natural resources, is being used to create a prosthetic circuit. I hope also in this innovation, please come to Parliament Road, then think about also durian Musangking. On this note, I wish all the participants attending this conference will have a fruitful learning experience and at the same time enrich you all the knowledge in this important subject. This conference also serves as a part of a continuous effort to increase the level of the engagement with the disabled community in our country. While you are in Malaysia, I would like to invite you to take the opportunity to also share the taste of Malaysia culture from our diverse group of the culture and traditional architecture and of course the food. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Yang Berhormat, and please remain on the stage for the opening ceremony giving. I would like to call Professor Hugh, Professor Dr. Zubair, kindly press the button near to the prosthetic hand to officiate the opening ceremony giving. Stage for the token of appreciation presentation. I would like to invite Associate Professor Dr. Muhammad Tariq, Chairman of iCOP 2019, to present an appreciation memento to Yang Berhormat Tengku Zulpuri Shah. The conference would like to express our gratitude to Yang Berhormat for officiating the opening of iCOP 2019.
keynote speaker from Australia. Prof. Gursel Alisi received his BSc degree in mechanical engineering from the Middle East Technical University, Turkey in 1988. And after that, he done the PhD degree in robotics from the Department of Engineering Science, Oxford University, UK in 1994. And presently, he is a senior professor in University of Wollongong, Australia, and he is also the head of the School of Mechanical Materials, Mechatronics and Biomedical Engineering since 2011. And his research interests more on the robotic system dynamics, control, robotic drug deliveries, and novel acquisition concept for biomechatronics and sensor, prosthetics, devices, and medical robotics. And he has also generated more than 350 peer-review articles, and also he delivered invited seminar and keynote talks in related area in different conferences around the world. And he is also the technical editors with IIII transaction on mechatronics during 2008 to 2012. And he is also the technical editors of IEEE essays. And also he is involved into the various international conferences as a committee member. And also he is a leader of soft robotics for prosthetic devices team of the ARC Center of Excellence and Electromaterials. And the Vice Chancellor Interdisciplinary Research Excellence Award he got in 2013. And also the Vice Chancellor Award for Research Supervision recently in 2018 from the Institute of Technology, Lausanne City, University of Hong Kong, and University of Science and Technology, China, and British Columbia University, Canada, 2019. So today he is going to give a keynote speech on very interesting topics on the robotic. His title is Soft Robotic for Prosthetic Device. Can soft robotic bring prosthetic devices one step closer to their natural counterpart? So we welcome Prof. Gursel Alisi to give the keynote speech.
Terima kasih. That's my Malay I learned this morning. And also Salamat Datang is welcome, I think. Thank you very much, Professor Jawad, for this generous introduction. And it's my great pleasure to be here, to be keynote speaker, to be part of the history of University of Wollongong, Malaysia KDU College. And as everything was said about me, I don't want to say too much about myself, where I'm from, but still it's my duty to tell you where this Wollongong is. I'm sure in Malaysia, Wollongong is very well known, and in some countries when they hear the word Wollongong, they think it's a town somewhere in Asia, perhaps in China. So without putting you in wonder, this is Wollongong. These are some images of Wollongong, and it's a nice seaside town, Pacific Ocean. And as you can see, this is our campus on the right, and this is how we teach, usually. I'm joking, he's not teaching here. It's just at lunch break, so that's our campus and the city of Wollongong. And Wollongong, please change slides. So it's a nice view like this, and if I can change another one. Yeah, I think we need to change this one. Maybe I'll just move around. My voice is usually. Can you hear me? I think everybody can hear me. I feel like I'm in the classroom. They don't have wireless. I think that's great. That's perfect. Fine. I'll just talk here. So this is Wollongong. It's not far from Sydney, just 80 kilometers south of Sydney. And it's one of the research-intensive universities in Australia. And medium-sized university, and we have campuses in Dubai, Hong Kong, and Malaysia. So we are very excited about our Malaysia campus. I think we will do lots of great things together with our colleagues in Malaysia. And I don't want to say too much. My another affiliation is we have a Center of Excellence, ARC. ARC is Australian Research Council, the Center of Excellence for Electromaterial Science. So I'm part of the Center of Excellence, which is a multidisciplinary research center bringing researchers from materials engineering, from other engineering disciplines, physics, chemistry, biology, medicine, to solve some global challenges in material science. So the aim of our center is to establish electromaterials with some unique properties and use these materials and additive manufacturing to develop new device concepts with performance much better than their predecessors. So this is a fundamental research center, primarily focusing on the material side, and I'm representing engineering side of this multidisciplinary research center. And we have 6 research programs in this center. And at the center, we have electromaterials. And here, we make materials with a certain function and structure. So in the past, we used to use materials developed by our colleagues in materials engineering, and then we engineers were trying to find some applications. But now materials discipline, together with additive manufacturing techniques, known as 3D printing, if I can use that one, we can't afford that one anymore. Now we can tell them what materials we want, what functions, what properties we should have in order to use those materials to establish some new devices, such as prosthetic devices. There are lots of challenges in prosthetic devices, and I can see the exhibition around here, and after my talk, I'm sure we will see lots of common grounds to collaborate, to cooperate here through our campus in Malaysia. So in this Center of Excellence, we have synthetic biosystems. If I can just go backwards, yeah, here, mainly about biosystems, bionics, nerve repair, synthetic energy system like solar cells, energy systems, electrofluidics, I don't want to go too much in these ones, and soft robotics for prosthetic devices. I am in charge of this program. So our aim is to use these materials to establish new actuation and sensing concepts, and then use them in some revolutionary robotic devices. And I would like to draw your attention to this large blue box. You see, in many big research centers, you don't see this kind of encirclement about ethics, policy, and public engagement. So we researchers, we can't do research in isolation anymore. We have to engage the public. We have to develop policy around our research. We have to include government decision makers who fund our research, who are going to support us to translate our research into some clinical applications in this case. So we are very happy to work with a group of social scientists, some philosophers, to help us to include the users right at the beginning of our research. We follow user-centered design in the development of a prosthetic hand. I'm going to show the videos of some prosthetic hands we developed in the last 4 years, and then discuss and tell you whether soft robotics is the enabling technology to bring prosthetic devices one step closer to the natural parts. So whatever we do, friends, colleagues, I don't think we can replicate a natural limb with an artificial one. So whoever made our limbs was a brilliant or is a brilliant engineer. And we are very happy to have such a colleague. So our challenge is how can we come a few steps closer to make it lifelike, for example, to make it smooth, to communicate with the user in a natural way, like using your iPhone, iPad. making this kind of things on touchscreen? Can we have a prosthetic hand which can be easily used with minimum training? So these are challenges. So we believe with some programs like this, I think we can come one step closer. So that's the program I'm leading. I already told you. It's an applied one, and we want to develop these technologies and then apply it to prosthetic hands with natural control. I will tell you more about this one in a second. I don't want to waste your time. So the ultimate goal of our research team is to establish a low-cost, low-weight, low-footprint prosthetic hand with programmable softness and sensory feedback and human skin compatible non-invasive sensors like electronic skins which can identify user intention without any further surgeries. So the ultimate goal of our team is to come with a solution, an affordable solution, which can be acceptable by the users. So if I can continue, the first question I would like to answer is, what is this soft robotics? You know, soft robotics, everybody knows about robotics, it's very popular, and in the last 15, 20 years, people started talking about soft robotics. Before I describe soft robotics, I would like to describe robotics. What is robotics? And if you talk to somebody, a researcher, for example, in the School of IT, in the School of Electrical Engineering, School of Electrical Engineering, each of them will come with their own definition of robotics. So there is no universally agreed definition for robotics. So we, in our research group, based on our experience, we define robotics as the science and engineering of reprogrammable, multi-purpose, versatile devices which link sensing to action. In order to be qualified to be a robot, you need to link sensing to action. It should sense what's going on around and then take a decision and take an action. And this is robotics. So if we use this definition, we describe soft robotics, again, as the science and engineering of smart devices, which are primarily made of soft materials. Materials with programmable mechanical, electrical, chemical, and rheological properties, which can adapt and conform to the real world better than their predecessor. So better than hard robots which interact with their environment in a dangerous way can become with a soft solution which can give you a big hug and without damaging the environment, without damaging humans or agricultural products if you are going to use this one for harvesting, for example, some agricultural produce. So soft robotics, in a way, is a natural continuation of classical robotics, but using soft materials to come with a solution which is safer to use, which is affordable to use. So this is some difference, and here there are some diagrams, if I can show you some comparison if you are in robotics. So this is our human arm, and in the past, because there was no smart printable materials, we used to break these links into a few pieces. And we engineers came with a solution called hyper-redundant robot manipulators. But here you use a multiple number of actuators to control each of these joints, which is very expensive. It's control dominant. So what soft robotics is saying or dreaming to use some magic materials. It's like an elephant trunk, like octopus arms. It can turn around and come to infinite degrees of freedom, infinite configurations, like a natural component, and you can program it and bring it. So this is the one, as you see here, and then in here, how can you make it? So you need to have some sections which can bend like this and bend like this or like this. So you need to have programmable sections in a continuum body to bring it to some programmable configuration. So that is soft robot, difference between soft robotics and hard robotics, if I use these two terms. And this is another comparison. In hard robotics, if you are in robotics, you rely on control to bring your system to some predefined positions. It's very much sensory or sensor-based control. You just tell electric motors to command your system to bring to a certain configuration, no problems. And it's very expensive, very fast. What soft robotics is saying, as I just mentioned, is to do this one, to have something where morphology and the materials are dominant. So if you are from materials engineering, we need your help. We need to work together to come with a magic material, and you apply, for example, a potential difference, and that material change its properties and bring your system to a predefined configuration. That's a big challenge. And I don't want to say too much, and this is a cover page of the magazine. And by the way, this magazine is not my sponsor. Okay, it's nothing to do with this one, and it's just a proof showing the rise of robots, and this text is summarized from that summary in 2014 version of Economist. Here, especially soft robotics is promising for medical applications. Applications where human-machine interaction is essential, where prosthetics, orthotics have to be worn, have to be communicated with the users, and then soft robotics is the enabling technology to bring these hundreds of years of problems. Prosthetic devices problem exists since BC 202. So it's one of the oldest problems, but the problem is technology hasn't been there every year, every time. Now we are very lucky, we got progress in materials, we got progress in additive manufacturing. We believe we can solve some of the challenges. So this is a good one. And another thing I would like to show you is the difference between classical approach, how we control it, and soft robotics one. I will show the video in a second, but I like this saying, and this one, soft robotics, offers a natural solution for the interaction. And here is the saying, a Chinese philosopher from 16th century, this person said, the softest things in the world overcome the hardest things in the world. You see, softness is great. I mean, we people, when we communicate with each other, when you use a soft language, I'm sure you can solve lots of problems. To use a hard language, you have to manage, you have to measure, you have to be extra careful. So softness is a natural thing. In my talks, always I give a very interesting example. This is my example, not copied from anywhere. I just ask the audience, why do you prefer to sit on soft chairs? Why do you want soft chairs, friends? Because the softness of your tissue, your body, needs to be matched by the physical environment. So if you go and sit in airports, they deliberately put hard chairs so that you don't sleep and you don't stay there much. But here we got some comfortable ones because it's compliance matching, stiffness matching. You are matching the hardness of the surface with the hardness of your body. So that's why I think soft robotics, it's a natural solution. I got some videos here, I don't know how you can play this one. This video is from my PhD when some of you were not born. And when I did my PhD on robot force control, can you please play that video for me? And in this video, I did this video for my PhD defense, but the committee didn't want to watch. They said, we believe you passed. So I thought I'm not going to use it anymore. I found the tape, I converted to the digital. Now you see, this is my PhD end result. We do force control, no problems. Robot comes and applies 10 Newton, 20 Newton, 50 Newton, no problem. We use control. Now, in the next image, without changing anything, we are going to make environment a soft one. We use a piece of foam, a soft one, and then robot becomes crazy, unstable. You see here, becomes unstable. You think normally it should be soft, but robot gets upset because it was programmed for hard-on-hard contact. So in the next images, if you can continue, oh, that's me when I was younger. I think it looks like me. It's a very dangerous one, by the way. Don't do this one anymore. This is no safety in this video. I was young and restless. I just went into the cell to record this video to impress my committee, but they didn't watch it. Anyway, you see, because of the force control, I can move it around. I say, look, apply 10 Newton. It just moves around on your hand. So this is the beginning of soft robotics. So another example, you see now I'm going to put back no problems because I changed the control parameters for the soft environment. So what soft robotics is saying, rather than every time you go to the control system, can we change the materials of the limbs, the materials of this arm, it can adapt the stiffness changes of the environment. That's what soft robotics is saying. Here is another example. It's from Michelin. I don't have any sponsor. I don't have any expensive cars like Rolls-Royce whatsoever. Michelin truck. Can you please play this video? And this is what these people made. They made some soft tires, airless tires. Can you please play this video? You see here, there is no air, and they got some spokes, some elastic ones. And when they tested this one with the hard tires, and these tires absorb the vibration, the dynamic loads, the irregularities in the road, in the surface of the sides, and it doesn't shake too much. Again, thanks to the soft spokes, which can absorb the energy and adapt to the situation. So these are some ones to show you what soft robotics is. So I would like to come to our question later, and all of these soft robotics examples, you can see all these basic elements. Physical system, sensors, actuators, computer, human-machine interface. I will talk more about this one in a second. And communication with other systems. So this is a typical structure of a typical robotic system. So what does that mean for soft robotics? Soft robotics is saying, can we put all these elements in the same body, like our finger? We got actuator, we got sensor, we got the mechanical structure, we got energy as well. So you just fuel yourself. Can we do this one in one piece? So how can you do this one? You need to have some technologies, as I mentioned, like electroactive materials and additive manufacturing, 3D printing. I'm going to show you some videos in a second. And to this aim, we need some robotic materials. Materials where they can change their properties. The best stimulus you can apply is a potential difference, an electrical field, because it's available, it's cheap, it's clean, and it's fast as well. So if you're collaborating with material scientists, please encourage them to work on materials with some unique properties. So the aim is to come with this kind of solution. Maybe I have to be a bit fast. And we have done a lot of research in soft robotics. I don't want to present them, but I encourage you to go to YouTube and look at this channel we have, Soft Robotics at UOW. So we got plenty of videos about actuation concepts, sensing concepts, and human-machine interfaces based on soft robotics and additive manufacturing. And I don't want to go into them here because we only have 45 minutes. And I would like to return to the theme of this conference. How can we restore normality with people who lost some of their limbs? And are you happy with this phrase, friends, limb difference? So before we started this research, we were calling this one people with limb loss, amputees. This is very negative and very bad. And our ethics people taught us to use the word limb difference. People who are sensitive to the loss, and we need to tell them there is a difference between us and them, rather than explicitly saying what what they don't have. So what we are saying today, I'm going to try to make a ground. Can soft robotics help to restore normality? Is soft robotics the technology to bring these devices one step closer? And I don't need to say this one. I think this was described by the Deputy Minister. I was very impressed, and he described prosthetics, he described orthotics, and so that made my job easier not to tell you what orthotics and prosthetics is. And they got upper limb, lower limb, etc. I will skip this one. And our group, we focus on upper limb. In the upper limb, there are 7 amputation levels, starting from shoulder to the transcarpal, to the fingers one. And this one. And our project focuses on prosthetic hand for transradial prosthetic limb difference. So for people who lost their hand from their wrist to the elbow. So that's a transradial prosthetic hand. As you can see, the area is so diverse, so challenging. You can't solve all the problems, especially by yourself. It's a multidisciplinary one. So what we do, and this is one I showed you, and here is the comparison to normal, this is normal robotic system, and the prosthetic system compared to normal robotic system has a significant difference. This is where the challenge is. You have to have actuators, like electric motors. You can see some hands in the background. I think my colleague from iTouch is just chatting there. Hello. And people at the back, they got their expensive hands, and with electric motors, and with sensors, and with a computer to make decision. And more importantly, you need to have elements to communicate with the users. You have to convert user's intention, which starts in brain, then it goes to peripheral nervous system, and peripheral nervous system sends signals to control the muscles controlling our fingers. So the current technology is based on electromyography electrodes, conductive elements you put on the skin, which picks up electrical activities in the muscles, and then we process that signal, that signature from the muscles, for example, for thumbs up, for pointer, for keyhole, or for power grasp. And then we process it quickly and convert into the commands, and then send those commands to the actuators to move the fingers to the position you want, the position you intended. But that's not that straightforward. There is a delay, and there is a size, there is a power, it's very heavy. Current prosthetic hands, if you walk around, are very heavy. They are as heavy as natural hands, but because it's a foreign object, people feel that it's too heavy, it's not part of the body. So one of the challenges is to have a lightweight solution. So let's do this one. Maybe that one, I skip this. And before I show you some videos, one thing we did, I just told you at the beginning, we didn't want to come with a solution in isolation. We organized a survey in Australia, especially in the state of New South Wales and Victoria. We worked with prosthetics and orthotics communities. We designed a survey based on 30 questions with the help of our colleagues in ethics, policy, and public engagement research. And we asked these people, what do you want from a new hand? The hands on the market are expensive. They are not affordable. And this group of people are neglected people. They can't afford it. Even in developed countries, they only get $5,000, which is not enough. So we collected this data and published in this paper, if you want to see what we obtained for Australia. And you see, these are the top reasons they don't want to wear. If you know the literature, 1/3 of the time, prosthetic hand users, although they have the expensive hand, they don't want to use it. They are sick of it because it's heavy. Look at the top reason, size and weight. and they say functionality and dexterity is not good, so it doesn't do whatever you are doing easily. So it can do some certain gestures. And of course, they said we don't need it. Other reasons, we ask another question, why do you want to change your prosthetic hand? Look at this one, size and weight, functionality, reliability, financial capacity. And this is based on data. And also we ask the problems with the current hands. Look at this one, limited functionality. They don't do too much. They can't do this kind of things on your iPad. They can't do certain things, and their size, weight, reliability, ease of use and comfort. Look at this one. And we ask them something about sensory feedback. One of the oldest problems in prosthetic hand area is not to have reliable, intuitive touch sensing, sensory feedback to the user about touch, about the warmth of their loved ones. They want to feel it. They want to know how much force they are applying. They don't want to break anything. So these are the top reasons when they have the sensory feedback, they want to control the grip strength. And we did this one. We came with a solution. I will show you the video. Feeling the touch. Look at this one. People want to feel it. They don't want to buy an expensive hand, which is just a piece of metal heavy 450 grams. So what we did, that's enough I think, we came with this list of characteristics, as I mentioned, low weight, low power, affordable, compact, and here, compatible with natural control, and touch sensing, aesthetic, smooth, lifelike. So these are the requirements we determined, and this is the first hand we printed 3 years ago. Can you please play this one? This is fully 3D printed, no cheating, and everything is fully 3D printed and real-time video. And as you see here, we got EMG electrodes on my student's arm, and we read this signal from his arm and healthy muscles, and then control the prosthetic hand with nothing in between, just the processing, microcontroller. So this was totally 3D printed, and this was done in 2016. And this is one of our first ones. And then, recently we just published another brilliant paper, and we came with a solution. Maybe I'll show you this video. In the previous prosthetic hand we had thumb. How important is the thumb? Can you thumb up your finger, everybody? If you are listening, thumbs up, yeah? You see, you can do everything. So the first hand we printed can only do this one. It doesn't do this one. So it's very limited. So what we did with my researcher, Dr. Hao Zhao, came with a novel thumb solution. If I can show the next video, can you please play the next video, which is this one. You see the thumb 3D printed hand. So thumb can do this, and in the next one, you see it's going to rotate. But when we did this one, we used one electric motor. We didn't use two electric motors. We came with a very simple solution. We use one electric motor. We have two discs connected to the electric motor. When motor rotates counterclockwise, it does this one. When it rotates clockwise, it does this one. So it's a multi-mode solution, very simple solution. Believe me, solutions are usually simple solutions. And we came with this one, and in the previous video, you see the thumb can do dexterity like this one very easily. In the previous one, it was only doing some limited ones. So let me continue. I mean, we use 3D printing plastic here, and the total weight of this hand, including motors and the batteries, is 260 grams. And its cost is a few $100 excluding my salary. And expertise, of course. So what I'm saying, I think technology is there. We have to work together with the users, with engineers, with doctors, prosthetists, and orthotists, and understand each other, come with an affordable solution. So that's the progress we made. And this is the motor I'm talking about, the disc. And then we continued with this one, and we are now applying machine learning to come with an armband. This is the armband commercial one. Now we built our own one. We are applying for a patent. I can't disclose it. And you put around your arm, when you move your fingers, and we read patterns for different gestures. And then we use machine learning, and here is our interface built in our lab, and we can control the hand to recognize the patterns, the intention coming from the brain to the nerves to the muscles, and you just put this armband around the lower limb, upper part of the lower forearm, I should say, and then we recognize patterns. And my student, Sam Young, Sam is a third-year biomedical engineering student. He's not a PhD student. So he did this work last summer, Australia summer, in December, and this paper was published or presented at this robotics conference this July. So he came with a pattern recognition system which is better than the recognition system which came with the armband, with some 95% accuracy for these 5 gestures. So he can recognize these ones easily and identify them. And one of the important questions or problems, I don't want to drag on this one too much, is sensory feedback. So I have a wonderful PhD student, Benjamin. He just submitted his PhD thesis, and he's going to work for Facebook Haptics in Seattle as of next year. So his PhD thesis is about how can we give sensory feedback in a non-invasive way to the user? How can the user control the grip strength? So we came with an experimental platform, and we built something like an egg. If you apply too much force, you are going to break it. If you apply too little force, it's going to slip it. So we built a cube, 3D printed an object with sensors on it, and we gave it to 5 people in Prince of Wales Hospital in Sydney. We tested with real people, not people who are healthy like ourselves. So we gave them sensory feedback back to their arms. I don't want to say too much. And here we use 2 techniques. One is based on a small electric motor, which you put inside this armband. And one motor is responsible for the thumb, one is responsible for the pointer, and one small motor is responsible for the 3 remaining fingers. If 3 of the motors around your arm are touching your skin, you know that your hand is doing this one. If one of them is touching is thumb. If the second one is touching, for example, is this one. So this is the first technique he tested. The second technique he tested was to apply a low-power electrical signal, a neurostimulator. So he applied 10 milliamp signal to the human skin in proportion to the contact force. And he tested both of these techniques with some amputees, or people with limb difference. This is Benjamin, and this is just accepted for publication in this journal. And we compared electrodes. I brought this electrode in my bag. I forgot to show you, maybe it's too much. So rather than using EMG electrodes, we came with our own electrodes. You see, we got 2 concentric circles, and we put on the arm, and these circles tell us about expansion and contraction of the muscles, as well as help us to apply a low-power electrical signal on the skin without shocking the user. So the electric power you are applying is very low power. So this is what Benjamin did. I don't want to say too much. It's very flexible, 3D printed, consists of 3 pieces. This is like positive, negative, and this white open section is the insulator. And we compare this one with other electrodes for other applications, like measuring EEG signal, EMG signal. They are equally wonderfully good electrodes. I got some samples in my bag. If anybody wants to see, I will show you. And this is the video. If you can play this video, this is one of the users in Prince of Wales Hospital in Sydney. Can you please play this video? You see here, this user has a hook, and he or she, I don't want to mention, and lifts this block. This is our object, and these blue sections are the sensors. So we got two sensors on the side. They hold, take to the other side with some different weights. But while we are doing this one, we apply sensory feedback to the upper arm here. So under this band, we have 3 electric motors or a stimulator applying small current to their skin. And look at the solution results. I mean, it's brilliant. So I will show you the sensor data in a second. So that's the experiment with real people. And here are some results. This is without feedback. You see the force 70 Newton. When we apply mechanotactile one, force decreases to 15 Newton from 70, from 40. Let's say if you take 41 on average, the force drops to 15 Newton. And this is the electrotactile one, and this is the mechanotactile. And here is the data we got in the middle. So without feedback, the force goes like this. And when we give them feedback, initially force is high, and as soon as they get the warning from the system, the force decreases significantly. So here, the outcome is this one. We use a non-invasive technique to give sensory feedback to the user about state of the gripping force. They can control it, and they are very happy. And so we also ask them about how do they feel, confidence, comfort, how comfortable they are with this one. The maximum score is 7, and look at this one. With no feedback, they are not comfortable. With mechanotactile feedback, it increases to 5, 6. There's a 4 here with participant number 4. And electrotactile is quite high. And the comfort, look at comfort. They are very happy to have a sensory feedback system to tell them how much force they are applying. And in the middle of their application, they know that they're applying too much. They just reduce their strength and safely move objects around. And these people didn't have any training. They just came to the clinic. We just told them what it is. They tried once, and then we conducted experiments in total in 45 minutes. We didn't want to keep them more than 45 minutes. And the results are very encouraging. And so what I'm trying to say, my colleagues, one of the important problems in prosthetic devices, this can be lower limb, this can be upper limb, is to communicate with the users, to communicate with the device. Human-machine interface is the biggest problem. So this problem can be solved using soft robotic technologies. I mean using smart material, like electromaterials which conduct electricity. You can use these materials to make electrodes, and additive manufacturing, 3D printing, which is based on the digital model of your object, and it can easily translate your ideas into prototypes to shorten the path from ideas to the application. So, especially receiving and sending the signal to the prosthetic device is a big challenge. But if you ask my personal opinion, it should be non-invasive. I don't think in the long, short run we can communicate through the nervous system. So far in the world, the record to send sensory signal to the peripheral nervous system is 11 months maximum. After 11 months, body does not like to have a wire wrapped around their nerves in the arm, telling the user what they are touching. So this was done after spending millions of dollars, and after 11 months, that system was not working anymore. Plus, when we talked to prosthetic hand users, they told us they are sick of surgeries. They don't want to have another surgery. They don't want to have another hole, another cable hanging from their body. They want something non-invasive. They want something they can take off, take a shower. They can take off. They don't have to do any other things. So I believe it comes through with some novel materials you can integrate, and with some high charge capacity, for example. More importantly, you need to collect the signal, shape the signal, and interface with the sensory system. So, if I come to the main question, I think I don't want to read this one. I think soft robotics is one of the enabling technologies in addition to other technologies coming from the medical side of this area. Will be a solution. I think we made some progress in our research group to bring these devices one step closer. And I always show this one. I'm an engineer, and this is the world without engineers. When we look at this one, we have to work together. And here I got the most sophisticated equation. 0.5 plus 0.5 is much greater than 1. So what does that mean? It means synergy. It means putting our strength to grow together, to solve some global challenges. So this is the world without engineers. Can you imagine the world without medical doctors, without material scientists, without physicists? So we have to work together. We have to put our egos and silos out of the window and put our strength together, work with end users, with industry, with practitioners to come with some affordable solutions. So without saying too much, of course, I would like to thank my students, my collaborators, and this is all members of my group, Australian Research Council for funding, for money, whoever gives money, we are very appreciative. And I want to show you this video before I thank you in Malay, before I say terima kasih. Can you show this video as well? And this is an artificial muscle work we did 15 years ago. So this is a plastic which conducts electricity, and you purchase a battery from supermarket with no processing at all, and you make these arms a friendly muscle person which can give you a hug to say thank you for your attention, and I will be very delighted to get any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor, for giving a soft, brief view about the soft robotics. Some of them you get the idea about that. So we can take one or two questions if anybody have a question. Nobody?
I hope you understood all that. Somebody there.
Please pass the mic to...
Back there.
Where? It's last. The guy is coming.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for your very interactive presentation. My question was, what's the potential of combining artificial intelligence with soft robotics?
Yeah, thank you very much. That's a brilliant question. As I briefly mentioned, we use artificial intelligence or machine learning as a bigger new term, new buzz term. And at the end of the day, we have to use data. What we are doing in pattern recognition is to use the data from user. So it's very important to come with an intuitive solution. So in order to build an intuitive solution, you have to have some fast algorithms which can identify some features hidden in some data. The more data you have, of course, your machine learning algorithm will be trained better. I think I will encourage you, if you are working in that area, machine learning, artificial intelligence is another auxiliary, another enabling technology or area which will convert this progress into some user-friendly solutions. At the end of the day, you have to process the data in a minimum period of time and send those commands to your actuators to drive your fingers or wrists to help the hand to come a configuration. Short answer, it's very important, and please continue if you are working on that. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any another one question more? I will take it.
Thanks for your presentation. I would like to have your comments on the, I heard about the target muscle innovation surgery which can control the prosthesis. That's the
I still get the last part.
The target muscle innovation, reconstruction.
Does that mean like muscle re-innervation?
Yes.
Okay.
Like they insert the sensors inside the muscles, and because they control the small muscles, and then they will send the signal out to control the prosthesis.
Yeah.
Right. So I heard about that in Hong Kong, and it's like because that's real muscles you can control, so you can have a quite good feeling of it. So can you give some comments from the difference between the tuck-in muscle reconstruction and your non-invasive one? Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's a great question. And it's a question about some recent progress on the control of prosthetic hands here. So, in our first video on the hand, we used a healthy user. Healthy users have strong muscles. Their muscle strength is high. I think that's one of the reasons why current prosthetic hands only have 2 electrodes to open and close, on off. When it reads a small threshold saying, yeah, this person is opening or closing. So while this is the case, one question researchers are asking themselves, how can we transfer the muscles or the nerves from the arm when the amputation happens to transfer them on the chest? It's called muscle re-innervation, the name of the technique, or nerve re-innervation. Rather than leaving them on the arm, around the arm, with a surgery, they remove them and put on the chest where you have more space. When we ask this one and share this result with people with limb difference in Sydney, in Wollongong, we got lots of visits every day, and they say, we are sick of new surgeries, we don't want surgeries. We want affordable, non-invasive solutions. And I believe we have a solution for electrodes, I didn't disclose here. Based on soft robotics technology, we are going to present a new solution. You can take off, have a sleep, next day put it with 1 minute training, and it's working every day. So I think whatever we do, we have to listen to the user's feelings and their thoughts. They have told us, I don't want any surgery, and please don't make my life harder. Come with an intuitive, non-invasive solution. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a big applause for the Prof. Gorsel for giving a very good talk to us.
Thank you very much, Professor Gorsel Alisi. Now I would like to invite Associate Professor Muhammad Jawid to give a token of appreciation to Professor Gorsel Alisi from University of Wollongong, Australia, as the first keynote speaker of our conference today.
Basically from the bioapps. So I want to call Ms. Noor Asliza Ahmad to give the talk on the contact pressures in chinobreast in the patient with double curve adolescent idiopathic sclerosis. Please welcome the Ms. Noor Asliza.
Inviting me to this prestigious event. I am Asliza. Currently, I'm working as a clinical prosthetics and orthotics in bioapps and Berhad. Also, I'm a master's student in Universiti of Malaya, doing research mainly in the orthotics. So today I was asked to talk about my recent research, which recently got published in the ISI journal, entitled Contact Pressure in the Chinobreast in Patient with Double Curve Adolescent Idiopathic Sclerosis. So, ladies and gentlemen, what's bringing me to this research? You see, as a CPO, we have been fabricating scoliotic braces for patients with scoliotic deformity. But until now, there is no clear evidence on quantitative data in supporting on how much pressure that we apply to the braces will correct the certain amount of the deformity. So this brings me to my aim of the research, which is to measure the pressure at the skin-brace interface, assess the effect of the strap tension, and analyze the variation of this pressure with position and activity. I am confident enough that this research outcome will help the practitioner in treating scoliosis patients in the near future. Before I proceed with the detail of the study, allow me to briefly introduce the concept of the study to you guys. As you all now know, adolescent idiopathic scoliosis is a structural, lateral and rotated curvature of the spine that arises in healthy children at or around puberty. Scoliosis is often described in relation to its location. There are few studies published on the interface pressure of scoliosis. However, all of the studies are limited to the single curve pattern only. Although double curve pattern tend to progress more than single curve, study on interface pressure for double curve is still scarce. In general, there are 1 to 3% of children aged 10 to 16 years old affected by adolescent idiopathic scoliosis. In Malaysia, the prevalence of this scoliosis is 2.55%, affecting mostly female adolescents, and male to female ratio is 1 to 3. Okay, moving on to the chinal brace. Chinal brace is one of the type of TLSO type brace, and this brace is commonly used in Europe. It is proven to be decreasing the risk of progression for different type of curve and lowering the rate of surgery. This chinal brace uses the principle of three-dimensional overcorrection on the scoliotic curve and creating expansion chamber on the contralateral side as shown in the figure. Okay, moving on to the tool of my research. For this study, I used the scan system, which is f-STOCAD sensor, to measure the pressure between the patient's skin and the brace. This sensor has been used widely in prosthetic and orthotic field for in situ pressure measurement system. The system enables the quantitative analysis to be done from detailed pressure profile and graphical display. If you see in the picture, the system can be trimmed into freely floating finger to closely approximate the curvature of the interface, making this tool as the most suitable device to measure the interface pressure in the scoliosis patient. To sum up, this study is all about the pressure measurement exerted by the chinal brace patient by using the TET scan system. Okay, the study population. This study is an experimental study. Around 72 participants were recruited for the study. Ethical approval was obtained from the UMMC Medical Ethics Review Committee. We conducted a convenience sampling on patients in the scoliosis clinic based on the orthopedic and patient X-ray result. Those who fulfilled the inclusion criteria were approached. The inclusion criteria are as follows. The patient must be diagnosed as idiopathic scoliosis with double curve pattern type. The patient age must be 10 years and above. The cup angle must be raised from 20 to 45 degrees. The razor sign should be 0, 1 or 2 at the start of the treatment. Okay, methodology. Every experiment we have to calibrate the sensor. This sensor then was attached to the thermoplastic brace with the help of a spray to ensure that the sensor positioned to the designated place. The placement of sensor was again the apex of the hump, and the sensor placement vary from patient to patient depending on the position of the hump. For the thoracic curve, the pressure is given laterally, and thoracolumbar curve, the pressure is given posterior laterally. After positioning the sensor, the patient were asked to do 9 different tasks according to their everyday assigned tasks. They are standing with breathing normally, standing with maximum inspiration and expiration, walking, sitting at 90-degree knee flexion, lying supine and prone, and lying on the left and right side. We repeat the same task after tightening the strap to check the effect of strap tension onto the different activities. With this placement, we enclose 90% of the pressure area. The reading then were obtained at a time of 15 seconds at a frequency of 13 Hz. Interface pressure exerted were recorded and analyzed using the TET scan software. Okay, here is the result of the study. As you can see, the table 1 and table 2, they are showing the difference on the two locations of the brace. Table 1 showing the interface pressure for thoracic curve. Table 2 showing the interface pressure for thoracolumbar curve. The mean force for both types of curve clearly increased after the maximum tension applied to the strap. The value changed from the one activity to the others, or the value positively increased after maximum strap tension. Adjustment done to both types of the curve. This is the comparison graph, the pressure for thoracolumbar and right thoracic curve. The results show that the mean peak pressure was higher for right thoracic curve than left thoracolumbar curve in all positions except for the prone position. The result of our study is comparable to the previous study done before, which they are also getting the pressure higher for right thoracic curve. However, it was observed that there is no substantial correlation between the mean peak pressure obtained in the standing position and after 6 months of the brace use. We got the 23.2% of the correction for thoracolumbar and 24.5% correction for the thoracic curve. Okay, the discussion. The mean peak pressure exerted on the patient body was higher after all strap adjustment for all activity, indicate that the strap tension on the scoliosis brace had a greater impact on the magnitude of the exerted force. Few studies on the variability of the strap tension also suggested that the regular strap tension adjustment is needed throughout the treatment because of the stretching of the strap that occur after some time due to the voluntary and involuntary movement of the patient body within the brace. Thus, from this study, we suggest our patient to change the strap after every 3 to 4 months or whenever it has worn out. The mean peak pressure are lower in prone position for the right thoracic due to the action of gravity and position of the sensor. There is a need to tighten the brace during lying position, especially when the patient is sleeping, to maximize the brace pressure during the treatment. After 6 months of brace wearing, the thoracolumbar curve acquire better correction compared to the thoracic curve. This is because thoracolumbar curve are generally assumed to give better result in the brace treatment than thoracic curve. So as a conclusion, even though that the system does not provide the direct information on the correction of spinal curvature, we believe that this system appears to be a useful tool in the treatment of the scoliotic patient. The value obtained from the study could indicate the optimal brace fitting, which will improve the brace efficacy. Several positions alter the magnitude of forces exerted from the brace. The strap adjustment clearly influence the applied pressure, particularly on the thoracolumbar curve. Interestingly, from our study, although the exerted pressure on the thoracic area obtained a higher reading than thoracolumbar area, the degree of correction for the thoracolumbar area is higher than the thoracic area. Okay, that's the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for your attention.
I'm from ISPOM International. I'm a prosthetist and orthotist. And how can we identify the exact number of the pressure to collect the deformity? This question because there are many kinds of patients who have different kind of soft tissues or the deformities. So, in your research project, have you identified the exact number of the pressure to appropriate the number of the pressure to collect?
No. In the research, I put the mean weight of the patient. The patient should be in healthy functioning for the patient who had overweight. So we did not do research on that yet. Probably in the near future we can do that one.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any another question? Can take few questions. Okay.
I'm okay with that. Okay, any other question?
No question?
Thank you very much. Congratulations. That's great research. My question is about actuation system you use as per pressure you measure to correct the deformity. You didn't tell how you correct the deformity as per pressure you measure it. I understand you measure pressure from the food, isn't it, using TechScan system?
Sorry sir, no. We measure the pressure from the brace, from the body. So the patient has scoliosis as type of curve. So I measure the pressure, how much pressure we needed to correct that deformity.
Now, my question, how do you apply that pressure to correct it?
How do I apply?
Yes.
Actually, when we are making the scoliosis brace, we remove the area where we need to apply the pressure. So
it's not active, it's passive. You know?
Yeah, it's passive, but the body movement is active correction.
Okay, I think it would be great to have some kind of pneumatic system using pressure, gentle pressure as per progress in the treatment, and then apply more pressure to the areas needing more pressure as per your measurement, like closing the loop around your sensing data to solve the problem, I guess. I guess that's your next research.
Yeah, probably will be my PhD research. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Any other question?
Yeah, it's great you are getting the two good options from the pressures, two questions. So it's a good idea for you to go. Any another questions? We have still time. No question? Okay, we have a big applause for
have a special keynote speaker. So for that, I would like to invite Dr. Nur Aida from Universiti Malaya to deliver a keynote address. Doctor?
I'm from Universiti Malaya and currently serving as the president of ISPOM Malaysia. So today we have a very special guest from ISPO headquarters in Belgium, which is Prof. Kazuhiro. So before Prof deliver his speech, I would like to give some brief introduction about Prof. Kazuhiro Sakai. Prof. Kazuhiro Sakai is a professor in the Department of Rehabilitation, University of Human Arts and Sciences, Japan. He has been involved in the prosthetics and orthotics industry and academia since 1987 and has more than 30 years experience in both Japan and Thailand. Prof. Sakai currently serves as an executive board member of the International Society for Prosthetics and Orthotics, as well as vice president of the Japanese Society for Prosthetics and Orthotics. So without any delay, let's have Prof. Sakai to deliver his speech. Thank you.
Okay. So, prosthetics and orthotics. Engineers. Okay. Physios. Right. Thank you very much for introducing me. I have to remind you that what I'm going to talk about is not scientific. I'm going to talk about our organization. Okay. Next slide, please. This presentation is a modified version from the presentation made by Friedrich Kohler, the ISPO past president, on October 2nd, 2019. Okay. Firstly, I'll talk about inauguration of the ISPO The International Society for Prosthetics and Orthotics, ISPO, was founded as a non-governmental organization in 1970 in Copenhagen, Denmark. It grew out of the International Committee of Prosthetics and Orthotics of the International Society for Rehabilitation of the Disabled, which later became Rehabilitation International. Next slide, please. So this is the origin of the ISPO. For almost 50 years, ISPO has provided an effective platform for the exchange and communication on all aspects of the science and practice associated with provision of prosthetic and orthotic care, rehabilitation engineering, and related areas. So what we do is to provide and set up the platform to exchange the ideas or opinions among the people who provide prosthetic and orthotic service care. Next slide, please. This is the ISPO Code of Conduct. There are 10 items. So we played a specific role based on this line. Next slide, please. So our mission is to improve the quality of life for persons who may benefit from the rehabilitation practice of prosthetic, orthotic, mobility and assistive technology by promoting multidisciplinary practice, facilitating professional education to provide quality care, promoting research and evidence-based practice, facilitating innovative and appropriate technology development, fostering international collaboration and consensus, and finally, facilitating knowledge and exchange. Next slide, please. So we must be aware in 2050, an estimated 2 billion people will need in assisted technology, but only 1 in 20 will have an appropriate device. This is a huge problem. In response to the rising rates of disability, ISPO launched the ISPO Power campaign in 2015 to raise public and decision makers' awareness and understanding of transformative power of assistive health technologies and mobility devices in the lives of disabled persons. In lower-income countries, 32 to 33% of non-disabled people are unable to afford health care compared to 51 to 53% of people with disabilities. Next slide, please. So this is our vision, a world where all people have equal opportunity for full participation in society. Next slide, please. So our organization is global. We have 74 member societies in 2019, over 3,100 members, and we have represented in 101 countries. So membership retention rate 72% in 2018. Next slide, please. And also ISPO is multidisciplinary organization. the ISPO consists of the prosthetists and orthotists, medical doctors, and therapists, includes physios and occupational therapists, and other individuals. Next slide, please. So, membership benefits. If you become a membership, you can get some benefits. For example, number one, be part of the worldwide community like this, expand the networks, and make a positive contribution to the development of rehabilitation, mobility device, and other assistive product services. Benefits number two, to enhance your learning experiences by accessing the latest scientific updates through ISPO journal, which is Prosthetics and Orthotics International, POI, and receiving exclusive registration rates to ISPO and National Society events. Number three, actively contribute to the development of ISPO by joining committees or working groups and advocating best practice to governments and non-governmental organizations on key issues. So personally, I like the number three. So I'm very motivated to contribute to society through the activities of ISPO. Okay. And finally, cultivate your career passion through the e-learning, global educators meeting, and short courses. So we also provide some learning materials through the website, as well as the face-to-face lectures and seminars. Next slide, please. Here's the executive board members from 2017 to 2019. Next slide, please. And this is a new executive board from this year until 2021. We have the president from Canada. His name is Edward Lemaire. He is an engineer. And we have president-elect, who is going to be the president next 2 years, okay, from France. Okay, next slide, please. So this is the structure of ISPO International. We have the membership society, such as Malaysian Society, and under the membership society, we set up international committees. And international committees vote some ISPO board members. And next slide, please. Okay, so we have some committees, both of standing and ad hoc. As per constitution or appointment, the executive board conducts business through committees. For example, we have standing committee such as finance committee, protocol committee, scientific committee, education committee. And we have also other committees such as membership committee, advocacy committees, publication committees, World Congress committees, and continuing professional education committee. And we have also the external committees such as Global Partnership Exchange, industry advisory group, wheelchair advisory group, so on. Next slide, please. Where we have the four pillars of the strategic plan. The one is learn. The second one is exchange of knowledge and science. And third one is to support. And finally, the first one is innovative. So following these four pillars, we do implement some kind of activities. Next slide, please. So one of our pillars is to learn. So we set up accreditation for the P&O education program, prosthetics and orthotics schools, and or related pathways to professional recognition. And its possible outcome is to advise on reaching required standards. So ISPO set up the standards for the prosthetic and orthotic education. So we support the local school to reach that kind of standards. And number two, recognition for the determined period of time and renewal of recognition for an additional period. And next slide, please. And we will certify prosthetists or orthotists, associate prosthetists and orthotists, prosthetic and orthotic technicians. Okay, we set up the educational standard for prosthetics and orthotics. Also, we provide the certification for those members. Next slide, please. And we also provide the continuing professional development, not only for the prosthetists and orthotists, but also since ISPO is multidisciplinary organization, we provide some kind of learning course for physicians or physios, engineers, and other related people. Okay. And next slide, please. We also give some membership e-learning. Actually, e-learning should be improved more in the future, but now we have some contents of e-learning such as ISPO World Congress taken place in the past, conjunction lecture or recording lectures on lower limb, cerebral palsy, spinal, also says education, developing countries. So these kind of contents are available for the ISPO membership. Next slide, please. So we also set up the short courses for 3 to 5 days, the face-to-face practical and theoretical courses. Okay. But unfortunately, the number of short courses which can be taken place in the 2 years is only 3 or 4 countries. Okay. Because of the budget is limited. Okay, so we set up the lower limb amputation course, neuropathic disabilities, orthotic management of a cerebral palsy, management of a stroke, management of polio, scoliosis, and club feet. Next slide, please. And these are the recent ISPO short courses. In 2017, we had two short courses in Bangladesh and India. In 2018, we had three short courses in Cambodia, Iran, and India. And this year, we are going to have the one short course in Philippines. Next slide, please. And we also hold the World Congress every 2 years. The scientific session, panel discussion, symposium, instruction course, audio presentations. So this kind of World Congress is bigger than the seminar, the short courses. Next slide, please. So most recently, we hold the 17th World Congress in Kobe, in Japan, last month. We had 28 instructional courses, 25 symposia, 500 scientific papers and posters. And fortunately, we had 4,400 people who registered in this World Congress in total. Next slide, please. This is the photo of the World Congress held in Kobe. Next slide, please. And this is also the photo of the Kobe ISPO World Congress. We set up our prizes such as the education or scientific papers, something like that. And next slide, please. This is a local organization group consists of Japanese people to support the ISPO World Congress last month. And I'd like to tell you that next World Congress will be held in Mexico in April 19, 2021. Okay, so please pencil in to schedule your time to attend the World Congress, to exchange to share your knowledge with us. Next slide, please. And we published the scientific journal, Prosthetics and Orthotics International. Okay. Next. So from next year, this journal will be the electrical journal. Okay. Next slide, please. The other publications, such as the ISPO biennial report, the courses and conference reports, guidelines, and reports of publications. Yeah, next slide, please. And advocacy, to be aware of the disabled people in the world. Okay. Next slide, please. We have also the regional cooperation with FATO. FATO is one of the regional organizations consist of the P&O Society in Africa. Okay. Next slide, please. We also collaborate with the WHO, or USA, and the other international organization who takes care of the disabled people. Next slide, please. WHO has engaged project, the GATE focused on 4 interlinked activities, such as policy, the second one is products, the third one is personnel, and the final one is provision. Okay. And next slide, please. I'll skip this slide. So 80 scale. 80 scale is related to the assistive technology. Next slide, please. So there are many organizations which is related to the rehabilitation. So ISPO has a Global Rehabilitation Alliance among the members. Next slide, please. We have collaboration with the USA, as I said. Next slide, please. And we also set up the ISPO Wheelchair Advisory Group. So ISPO is focusing on not only prosthetics and orthotics, but also the other assistive technologies, such as wheelchair or seating, something like that. Okay, next slide, please. And we have also ISPO Industry Advisory Group, consists of the industry related to the P&L provision, such as Flower, also Autobock, CrossFit, like that. Next slide, please. So, in short, ISPO has a global partnership exchange, such as this kind of organizations. Next slide, please. So, in the final part of my presentation today, I will talk about what is going on in Asia. So, we set up the ISPO Asia last year, aiming to promote communications and facilitate close collaboration among ISPO Asian national member societies in the areas of educational and professional development, service enhancements, and research studies. Next slide, please. ISPO Asia consists of 16 national member societies, including Malaysian societies. Next slide, please. And Dr. Mansa Wong, he is a prosthetist orthotist working for the Polytech University in Hong Kong. And he is a former ISPO International's executive board member, has been nominated to be the coordinator of ISPO Asia. Next slide, please. And last month, we hold the first ISPO Asia meeting in Kobe when we had the World Congress. And in that meeting, representatives of 11 member societies attended this meeting. And terms of reference was suggested. And we also plan for the APO-SM 2020. Next slide, please. So like the iCOP, we set up the Asian Prosthetics and Orthotics Scientific Meeting every 2 years. And we call it APOSM. APOSM 2018 was held, being organized by ISPO Thailand, November 2019 in Bangkok. We had 294 participants and 22 invited speakers. We had 31 free papers and 22 poster presentations. So this meeting was very successful. Next slide, please. And also, we are going to have the Apolsum 2020. It will be held in conjunction with the third Scientific and Congress of ISPO Indonesia. Okay, so next year we have a Apolsum meeting in August in Jakarta. So please attend this meeting again to share your knowledge with us. Thank you very much.
Very interesting presentation. I'm just keen to know how this particular organization is playing an important role in Malaysia. Okay, just to throw some few words. I'm a part of IEEE, you know IEEE, right? Institution of Electrical and Electronics Engineers, right? I'm representing the Robotics Automation Society of Malaysia chapter, and I'm very active in IEEE. And when I see this kind of organization doing a lot of things for the benefit of humanity, I'm wondering how this particular organization can merge with IEEE, not only IEEE, any professional bodies. You know, if you can able to throw some light on this so that the next step I can able to move in this particular direction, or I can able to create an awareness. Thank you.
Yeah, like you said, there are many organizations which are very similar or overlap in terms of activities. Okay, so it's very hard to find out which organization is the best to attend. And the point is, we have to set up the platform to exchange the opinions or some thoughts among the people who are doing the same or similar in the rehabilitation medicine. So I cannot answer to your question, but yeah, there's many kinds of organization looks very similar. So the point is, so like I'm here to attend this meeting. Okay, now I understand what is going on in iCOP. Then I can share my understanding with my colleagues and the board member. Then some kind of discussion will be started among the ISPO board members, and they will approach to the iCOP, for example. So that's my opinion. Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the members of the floor?
Thank you very much for this informative talk. My question is about the support you provide to research students or undergraduate students who want to attend your conferences or symposiums. Is there a program or annual budget you encourage the next generation of prosthetics and orthotists to get some funding through your organization to attend a conference like this or any symposium organized or sponsored by your association?
Yes, that's the point. That's the point. We have to have a lot of young people get involved into the ISPO activities. So there is one of the possible pathway to do that. We are sending the ISPO education members to the P&O programs in different countries to make an accreditation of the ISPO. Okay, so that kind of opportunity will give us to know the young people who are very motivated in prosthetics and orthotics. So, yeah.
I think it will be good, that's great.
Yeah.
But having program maybe for females as well, for female, increasing the number of female researchers, I think that would be a good point. IEEE does already, other professional bodies, ASCD does it. So, just a suggestion from me, I'm not a member of your organization, but I think that will be good to close the loop around the next generation to know that that will be something.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much to our keynote speaker, Professor Kazafiro Sakai. Now I would like to invite Dr. Nur Anida on
ISPO. Right, so basically, ISPO Malaysia was established back in 2016. 3 years now, this year. So let me just introduce to you how the history of P&O started in Malaysia. So back in 1937, the P&O services has been initiated by the British at the National Leprosy Control in Singapore. And in 1967, there's a center set up for P&O service in Hospital University, now known as PPUM or UMMC. And later on in 1969, it's been transferred to the Universiti Hospital Kuala Lumpur as the National Fitting Center. So in Malaysia itself, the P&O services has been started back in the 30s. Okay, so technically and historically, it's not that very new in our country, but somehow the progress in terms of the services and the components that we use is somehow we need more room for improvement. So basically from the WHO, it is estimated in every country there will be 0.5% of their citizens that will need some sort of rehabilitation devices. It may be a prosthesis or an orthosis. So for Malaysia itself, currently with our current population around 165,000 Malaysians who will need the rehabilitation devices. So that's a large number, and there is a huge need, a very crucial need for Malaysia to cater these needs. However, in our country, currently there is no national statistics on the rehabilitation level, where basically from these statistics we can start something larger from the statistics alone. So like I've mentioned earlier, we have launched this National Member Society in 2016. It was officiated by our Prof. Dr. Nazira from the UMMC itself. So in this organization, I'm very thankful to all the members, the committee members. So we have Prof. IR Azwan as our advisor, and Prof. Dr. Zaliha, she's currently being appointed as our emeritus member. She is basically one of the earliest rehab physicians that heavily get involved in P&O. So she's also known as the rehab mother of Malaysia. Very well-known personality in our country. Even Prof. Kazu knows her very well. And with me on the board is Saiful. He's from Sokso Rehabilitation Center. We have Dr. Nasrul from Universiti of Malaya. We have Kenneth also from Sokso, the biggest funder for the prosthesis devices. Dr. Azhar from as well. Dr. Chang is our rehab physician specialist from UMMC. Fazli is our graduates from the PNO program. He's now working in Singapore in Tan Tock Seng Hospital. Another member is Saiful, also our graduates, working in one of the PNO services in Malaysia. Hazim is also our graduates. This is also our graduates, and same thing for our membership here. Okay, so most of our committee members are made up from the university staffs and the funder of the services, as well as our graduates who are now working as prosthetists and orthotists. So the aim is aligned with the international society aim, which is to improve the service of PNO, specifically in Malaysia. And we have the objectives also aligned with the ISPO headquarters objectives. It's just that we're trying to adapt these objectives to our current situation or current practice in Malaysia. So I'm going to just briefly inform you activities that we had for the past 3 years for ISPO Malaysia. So we've been working very closely with UM itself, because that's where ISPOM is centered at UM. And with that, we also have our industrial partner, OSA, working very close with the university. So ISPO Malaysia take this opportunity to get the OSA industry to train our students in terms of fabricating or making the prosthesis and orthosis itself. So the participation from OSA is very important in preparing our students for the real world experience. Other than that, we do offer some in-house training for the public. We don't only offer training for our students, but we open the training to publics. This is one of the examples where we have a workshop on AFO, the ankle foot orthosis. And during this training, we had participants from several hospitals, consist of the prosthetists and orthotists, the technicians, the physiotherapists, the rehab physicians that come and join our training. On top of that, recently this year, we have a workshop where we involved with Bath University, who is also a partnership for this iCOP 2009. During this event, we managed to collaborate with a lot of stakeholders in PNO industries or PNO fields. So during this workshop, we had a very fruitful discussion on where we want to bring this PNO field, especially in Malaysia, how we want to tackle the challenges and how we're going to go further with that. And currently, we just partnership with KDU and other local universities to get involved in terms of organizing this kind of conference. So for the last 3 years, we had some small-scale research. Like I mentioned earlier, we don't have any national data on PNO services or PNO situation in Malaysia. So we had few small-scale research. The first one that I want to share with you is the project that we did with SOCSO, because they are the largest funder in PNO services, where they fund for the devices for a lot of majority of the users. We approach SOCSO in terms of getting the data that they have for the amputation statistics. So currently, this is just from 18 months data, and we found that out of 804 receivers of the prosthesis from SOCSO alone, okay, so bear in mind this is just from SOCSO data alone. So we have the majority, the same with the majority worldwide, we have more below knee amputees than the above knee and partial foot and others. So basically the market or the scenario in Malaysia is definitely focusing more on the below knee amputees. And in terms of the gender, the male dominated the statistics more than the female. Next, let's look at the cost of amputation. So it's the same globally. The main cause for amputation is for these vascular issues, which also includes diabetic problems among the recipients. So this vascular was the main cause of amputation that happened among the recipient of the prosthesis from SOCSO. Second is trauma, congenital tumor, and other factors. So now let's look at the types of components where this user received their prosthesis. So in Malaysia, most of our users still wearing the single axis or the such foot. These terms may be new for most of you, okay, but for some of you that are really related in this field, this is basically different types of foot design that you prescribe for a patient depending on the activity of level. So it looks like most of our user for the lower limb prosthesis is using single axis and the such foot, which is more on a lower level kind of activity. Okay, the reasons why they are prescribed this is we have some other reasons for that. And in terms of types of prosthetic knee, you can see that most of the user is using the polycentric type of knee, and next is the single axis. So from here we can see for people that have above knee amputation that needs prosthetic knee, we don't have the luxuries to use the smart prosthetic knee as far as I'm concerned, just because of the price, definitely. Okay, I think in Malaysia we only have around 2 or 3 users using smart prosthetic knee, the microprocessor prosthetic knee. The rest are still using the mechanical type of prosthetic knee. So usually in most of the universities here doing research, we either trying to improve the current devices that we have, meaning that we try to innovate some device which give a very good performance but still at a very affordable price. That is basically the most common issue in developing countries. We're trying to get at a certain level of satisfaction for the patient, but without having them to pay too much on the device at some point that they cannot afford it. So these are the area basically that offer you a lot of research possibilities to venture in. And from the record itself, this is the price of the above knee prosthesis in Malaysia for 1 unit of above knee prosthesis, which is around 12,000 Malaysian ringgit. So this one here is another types of what we call the suspension system that we use in the prosthesis. So most of our user is using suction, next is locking and pilite. So this is actually another options of suspension system where the physician will choose depending on the designs of the prosthesis as well as the activities of the patient. So here in Malaysia, we are more using on the suction. So this one here is statistics for below knee for the transtibial prosthesis. So the cost here is of course lesser than the above knee. And for the user of the below knee, most of them, the same statistics like the above knee amputation, they still depending on such and single axis, which is more on the lower type of activity level. Okay, and for the liner, it's almost the same between pilite and silicone. This is also a very large area of research that universities are doing on in terms of the interface of the socket. Different materials can give different level of satisfaction, and this is another, what would I say, a hot research topic currently. And in terms of the manpower of the service in Malaysia, currently talking about ISPO certified practitioners, okay? So we only have foreigners basically working in Malaysia because they have the certification from ISPO. So those are some of the brief description of the foreigners' expertise. It can be technicians or it can be prosthetists and orthotists as well. Those are the most participating country that have their expertise coming over to work in Malaysia. So from that awareness, we also did a small-scale research on, we want to know the current practice analysis in Malaysia. What's happening in terms of the labour force in Malaysia that provide the P&O services. So this small-scale research was done with the Universiti Malaysia Kelantan and Universiti Science Malaysia grants together with UM. So we collected data from 14 companies around Klang Valley, because that is most where you can find the P&O company services in Klang Valley. So from these 108 staff that we gather data, 44 of them are from support and 64 are from the staff that involved in P&O services. So from these 64 respondents, we have 13 managers who is also prosthetists and orthotists, and technicians we have 30, and certified prosthetists and orthotists we have 20. So from this number, we did a statistics, very simple statistics. So it seems like in P&O in Malaysia, okay, the services is dominated by the male practitioners, and the years that we have is between 35 to 44, and most of them has less than 5 years of experience. The next one is education. A lot of them have certification. That's most for the technicians, and most of them also have degrees. That is where we get the CPOs from. Okay, this is the highlights that I wanted to share with you. So basically, ideally, we want to have a differentiation between the prosthetists and orthotists and the technicians. Okay, so in this slide here, what I want to highlight is, for the clinical patient care, for both prosthetic and orthotics, we are hoping to see more frequency on the CPO side. But in Malaysia, it seems like there's not much gap between the workload of prosthetists and orthotists and the technicians. Okay, this is not supposed to be happening, because we were hoping that the CPOs will get more frequency on patient care, because that's what they have to do, more on patient care. And if you look at fabrication here, the gap is not so much difference between the prosthetists and orthotists as well as the technicians. So ideally, we want the technicians to have more percentage on fabrication and let the prosthetists and orthotists have more time on patient care. But like I've mentioned earlier, it's not happening in Malaysia. So from these facts, from these statistics, we really hope that we can work with the local society, okay, the ISPO as well, and also the stakeholders in Malaysia that give the services to have more segregation towards the role of prosthetists and orthotists as well as the technician. Technicians should not do much patient care like the prosthetists and orthotists, and prosthetists and orthotists should focus more on patient care rather than doing the fabrication. So this is something that we want to focus at in terms of trying to give best service for the user in Malaysia. So for conclusion here, like I've mentioned earlier, there's not much differentiation of the job scope of the role from the CPO and the technicians. And on top of that, of course, we need to improve on the education as well in Malaysia. So that's why tomorrow, actually, we from the Malaysia Society will have a meeting with Prof. Kazu, hoping to get more inputs and support from the ISPO international level to basically help us to be more proactive in the P&O field. With that, I end my speech, and thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Dr.
And our society is not just for clinicians or doctors or prosthetists and orthotists. Anyone who is interested in P&O, researchers, you are all welcome to join as the membership for ISPO. Thank you.
Any questions from the floor?
Thank you. No, it's not a question actually. The question I raised with the previous keynote speaker, I managed to get it from your presentation. Thank you very much.
Good. Please enroll as our member.
Oh, definitely. Thank you.
If no further questions, thank you very much, Dr. Noranida, and please remain on stage.
Next invited speaker actually comes from UCSI. And he is actually Assistant Professor Dr. Muhammad Khan. So basically, he has a very interesting research interests, medical rehabilitation, robotics, and application. One of the key areas that he likes to share today will be on modern trends in robotic surgery, how technology is leveraged to use robotic applications for surgical procedure. On that note, I'd like to invite Dr. Muhammad Khan to deliver his sharing session. Thank you.
And first of all, I thank the organizing committee of this particular conference. Not only the organizing committee, especially the session chair, Dr. Muhammad Tari, and my good friend, Dr. Siva. It's an honor to be here to deliver this particular speech. Actually, I selected this particular speech. Maybe sometimes I used to think it's in my blood, because my dad, also my 3 elder brothers, they're all medical doctors. So I'm the only one who deviated from that particular topic, get into engineering. So the patient, every day when I see a lot of people entering into my house, and easily you can able to imagine a house which has some 4 or 5 doctors inside. You know, some are surgeons and some are general medicine doctors. So from a childhood until now, there's plenty of experience. So that particular patients always it pushes me. Why not we do something or use this particular technology, because we being engineers always can able to play an interesting role along with the doctors. And as long both of us can work together, and if that thing, a research or an innovative idea can able to help the humanity, why not? So when I enrolled my PhD, I slowly diverted from my area of interest, which was before power electronics and motor drives. And then I jumped into robotics. And with some of my excellent friends from Monash, like Dr. Alba, Dr. Parabsram, and that type of facilities they have in that particular university, not only from Monash, also from UTP. And those guys, they pushed me into medical robotics side. So this particular talk, I thought maybe I can be able to share some of the modern trends, what is happening in the field of robotic surgery. Okay, thank you. Okay, this is me. Already Dr. Suha introduced me. I'm from UCSI. I'm assistant professor in the Faculty of Mechanical and Mechatronics. I'm from India, but I spent almost 25 years here in Malaysia. This is my 4th job in UCSI. And people, guys, those who are interested to work along with me in terms of future projects, even the KDU faculties, like in case if they find, my area of research can able to get along with them, why not? We can always collaborate each other and we can able to contribute something. Thank you. Okay, first, let's get into the basic fundamentals. What is this medical robotics is all about? Then, robots along with the surgeons, how these two can combine together, can be able to handle some complex surgical issues. And then we will slowly jump into the evolution of surgical science. Like 50, 60 years back, what was the technology that was existed? And then as time goes on, how that particular trend in the surgical side has been improved. And now we are living in a modern era where we are talking about why not we bring the robots to do the surgery, in order to handle the complex issues. And then I can be able to show some videos and share some slides which I collected from my professor who was my collaborative research professor. He was basically from National Technological University in Singapore. His name is Dr. P. In fact, my patient with robotic surgery, he also encouraged me. And I worked along with him, and it's a pleasure to share some of his contribution inside the particular area called robotic surgery. Okay, let's start with why medical robotics. And you can be able to see now the current trend. There is a new field of engineering is emerging, which we used to call it as mechatronics. Because nowadays you can be able to see mechanical, 100% cannot be able to do anything, especially looking into the current trend in the technological development. You look into any area of engineering, you can always be able to see there is a part of electronics is merged inside. So people have realized why not we develop a new field called mechatronics. So basically, students or the guys, those who are in the mechatronics side, I'm sure they'll be much more related to this particular field of robotics. Okay? So have a look. So the first slide is all about what is this thing as a clinician you can be able to have. It's more general. And in fact, if you're going to bring the robots inside, what is the strength you can be able to enjoy? So there are some interesting points. So just I'll run through this very fast. As a clinician, yes, you can be able to have a good judgment, strong hand-eye coordination, definitely. Integrate extensive and diverse information, very flexible and adaptable. And obviously it is going to be very dexterous at human level, highly bold, easy to instruct, and obviously easy to get verbal feedback. But the same thing when you try to compare with what robots can be able to do. What is the strength of robots? Excellent geometric accuracy and repeatability. That is the one advantage, the biggest advantage you can be able to bring that kind of technology inside. All right? And anti-link, stable, obviously. Immune to infection and radiation, definitely. Potentially high variety in size, shape, and configuration to suit need. Can incorporate many senses for information feedback and precise application. And obviously it creates better accessibility. So when you take this particular slide and try to compare with these two areas, what clinicians can be able to do, but when we're trying to bring the robot inside, what it can be able to do. Can you go to the next slide? So why medical robotics? And when you bring this to surgeon plus robot, combined together what you can be able to achieve. So as you can be able to see, yeah, when these two are going to work together, obviously you can be able to enhance non-invasive or minimally invasive surgical procedures. That is the core advantage you have. Like everybody is going to grow old at one particular stage. And mostly people, when you talk about when you are a patient, when you get admitted into the hospital, the first time when the doctor says, hey guy, you are supposed to go for a surgery. I know most of the people will be stunned, isn't it? And you can't even believe your body is going to be cut into pieces by using knife and the blades and the scissors and all these things. And there's a lot of people will be standing around you and anesthesia is given. So it's a horrible scenario, isn't it? But when you're trying to bring these two things together, yeah, you can be able to have an excellent coordination, and you can be able to see the major problem when you look into the surgical side is whether it is non-invasive or invasive, correct? So enhances non-invasive or minimally invasive surgical procedures, eliminates or decreases technical difficulties faced by clinicians, and less pain, obviously, that's the wonderful thing, less pain and discomfort for patients, lower surgical and hospitalization costs. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, so this particular slide, it shows when you look into the evolution of surgery. So you can be able to see the state-by-state procedure, I mean the process, the development in the field of technology. So when you think of a surgical thing some 30, 40 years back, as you can be able to see traditional surgery, so 40 years back, people, what they used to do, their doctor will take even X-ray and there is not much technological advancement in the field of taking the image of that particular organ or whatever it is. So mostly people, they depend on the x-rays. So the doctors will look into the x-ray, and even the surgeries can, is mostly is going to be a manual kind of thing. But after some time, you can able to see there is a new trend where it started with a minimally invasive surgery. And what is this particular minimally invasive surgery? So basically, the surgeons no need to create a big hole on your body. So by using minimally invasive surgery, what you can able to do is the surgeons can able to put some few number of holes, which is going to be around 1 inch diameter, and then they used to go for a particular process where they'll be using a control, the tubes. So the first tube can be inserted into a small hole, and through that particular tube you can able to push the carbon dioxide gas. So that particular carbon dioxide gas will provide the space between the organs and the skin. And then through the next tube, what you can able to do, you can able to put your camera inside so that you can able to exactly see where exactly you are going to do the surgery. And then through the second hole, where you can able to find another trocar, you can able to put your surgical instruments inside, and you can able to carry out your particular surgery. So the best thing is minimal invasive surgery. It finds a very important application now. And then after that, you can able to see endoluminal surgery. Endoluminal surgery, like people, those who are going to have this intestine problems. Like nowadays, you can able to see throughout the world, colon cancer is becoming a common issue now. Like some people, they used to have the cancer in the stomach itself. Some of the people, they develop cancer in the big intestine or the small intestine part. So when you go for a treatment, people, they used to go for the doctor, they used to advise you had to undergo for an endoscopy. Like, in fact, it happened to me at the age of 45. Like when I was in India, I thought maybe, for safety's sake, why not I go for an endoscopy? It is going to be such a painful process, basically they will make the patient to sleep on the bed. You have to come early in the morning with an empty stomach, and then they put a tube, and that particular tube will be having a camera. They will slide through the tube inside your stomach, where you can be able to see, which particular part of your stomach lining has been damaged. Then they will take the biopsy, and then they will do an analysis. End of the day, they will say like, okay, man, you are having an ulcer, or you develop, there is the early symptoms of cancer, isn't it? So endoscopy, it can be done through that mouth, or if you want to inspect your clone, the intestine part, from the bottom through the anus, you can be able to see the doctors insert the tube, and then they get the complete view of the intestine, and then they study the damage, isn't it? So you can be able to see there is a next development which is called the endoluminal surgery. And then finally, due to the advancement in the technology, people have gone to the fetal surgery. Fetal surgery, fetus. Imagine if the baby, which is inside the womb of the mother, before the birth, having some issues, a breathing issue, there is a contagious problem in the lungs, and the baby is finding it difficult to breathe. Even though the baby is inside the womb, by using the fetal surgery, you can be able to carry out the surgery when the baby is inside. So you can be able to see that particular trend now, right? So you have fetal surgery, and then nowadays people are talking about the cell surgery. Stem cell medical applications, nowadays it's becoming common, you can be able to see there are a lot of stem cell laboratories, and by using the stem cell therapy, people, they used to say there's a lot of advantages, like, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's disease, and people, those who used to have the baldness, deafness, blindness, and stroke, all this can be cured by using the stem cell therapy, isn't it? And basically, you can be able to see at this particular side, I talk about something called the Da Vinci CAS system that is widely used nowadays, right? Can you go to the next slide? So this is one particular picture where you can be able to see the advancement in the field of robotic surgery. So this particular system is available nowadays in the market, though it was introduced some 20 years back by an American company. There's a lot of countries that bought this particular machine, and they use this particular machine to carry out modern surgical complex problems, like, of course, the term Da Vinci, everybody knows. I'm not talking about the Da Vinci Code over here, right? Most of the people would have seen that movie. But Da Vinci is a scientist, isn't it? He has come up with a lot of medical images, he's an artist, and he's a philosopher, and he's an engineer. There's a lot of things behind him, isn't it? So from his particular name, just to honor him, the first medical robotic surgical system was given this particular name. So basically what you can able to see in this particular picture is how a robot can be able to perform a surgical operation. So the best part is you can able to see the doctor can sit right in front of the console. So you don't need to go to the patients and use blades and scissors to cut and open the body and carry out the surgical procedures. So you can just sit in a separate place. It's a beautiful vision. It's a 3D vision camera will be there, and all that what you have to do is use that particular console, and you can able to see on that particular side there is a 5-leg or 6-leg robotic arm, isn't it? So you can able to guide that particular robotic arms, basically sitting in this particular place. You can control them, correct? Maybe I will show you a video. Can you play the next video? So never mind. So this is more about, if you want to know more about Da Vinci, you can be able to see. And the best part is you can be able to see the number of robots, the Da Vinci surgical systems existing throughout in the world, and basically to give more idea, the price also is given, correct? So it's just more general. Can you go to the next slide? So take a look. So maybe you can able to catch up some more information by looking at this particular video. So this is how the Da Vinci surgical system it looks like.
Wristed instruments.
So here's the doctor who is sitting right in front of the console. So what you can able to see is through the camera you can able to see the complete surgical portion.
Minimally invasive options possible for complex surgical procedures.
So that's the HD 3D vision camera
system, an ergonomic surgeon's console, a patient-side cart with 4 interactive robotic
So these are the
arms,
6 robotic arms. So you have an excellent digital controller system.
Seated at the console, the Da Vinci
all that what
surgeon
you can do is
clear
you can be able to guide through the surgical procedures using the scales. It's like painting.
Movements of the surgeon's hands on the master controllers to 4 interactive robotic arms on the patient cart. The Da Vinci S HD system provides.
So the manipulators which are fixed at the other end of the robotic arm, you can able to see completely carry out all the surgical procedures, stitching, cutting, everything.
The precisely controlled micro movements of the Da Vinci instruments are enabled by the computer processors of the system.
Sorry, because of the time constraint, I had to stop this particular video, right? Because the time allocated is just 20 minutes for me. Okay, go to the next slide. Okay, so robotic surgery versus traditional laparoscopy. So when you're trying to compare with these two things, so you can able to see both they have the same hospitalization time, similar blood loss, same Gaussian time. Patient reported mean pain scores were almost identical. So obviously you can be able to see robotic surgery is expensive. Robotic surgery has higher operation duration time. Next slide. So what is the new challenge we are going to have? The new challenge for surgeons and engineers. So as you can be able to see here, the real challenge for the future of robotic in surgery is to go beyond the mere limitations and substitutions by a robot of conventional procedures and surgical gestures, and rather to explore completely novel procedures that are possible only by means of robotic mechatronic tools together with human surgeons. So that is going to be the future challenge. Even if you are going to bring the robotics inside, looking into the complexity of the surgical thing you are going to have, how you are going to bring these two things on a single platform, coordinate these two to work together, correct? Next slide. So this is something about the latest research. As I told you, one of my collaborative research, Professor Dr. P, who is working in the National Technological University of Singapore, he is doing a complete research on colonoscopy. So he developed a single colonoscopy robot. So the slides I'm sharing is basically it comes from his research. So you can able to see motivations. So just now I told you, colon cancers are one of the deadliest but most preventable malignancies. And you can able to see the danger behind it. It kills almost 500,000 people worldwide each year. But the best part is, it is curable 90% of the time if detected and treated in the earlier stages. Death toll could drop by 50 to 75% with mass screening of the population. This is what the advanced countries they do it. Like if you go to France and other countries, you can able to see, the government will push the people, whether you are in a good health condition or not, once you reach the age of 40 or 50, you had to compulsorily go to the hospital, admit yourself and get into this particular treatment. Can you go to the next slide? So this is one particular picture, the previous project. So this is the olden technology. So in case if you want to do a surgical operation into the clone, so basically what people they used to do is, the doctors will insert the tube through your anal point and it's going to be a painful procedure, isn't it? And that particular tube at the edge it will have a camera. So through the camera you can able to see on the screen the damages it has developed, the cancer, whether it is developed or not, right? Next. So this is the research. So you can able to see just by using this particular principle from the inch-worm technology. So at the bottom you can able to see the part which is written in the red lines. Never let go of what you are holding until you are holding something else. So instead of sending the tube, what you can able to do is you can able to come out with a capsule kind of thing. So basically the pictures you can able to see this side. That it comes from that particular concept of an insect, from a worm, inchworm. So you can able to see the inchworms, how they move. First they will move, hold it for a while, and then release the bag, and then they will keep moving, isn't it? So you can able to have that particular idea in order to develop this particular technology to do the colonoscopic complete study, isn't it? Next. So these are the different prototype models. Next. So as you can able to see, it comes along with a camera, so which is disposable. Next. So this is what it happens normally when you are going to go for an endoscopic procedure. Like basically, you can able to see they want to study what is the damage it has created inside your stomach, the leg, right? And you can able to take that particular biopsy, and then you can able to analyze it, and then finally you can able to say like, okay, your damage is going to be this much, or the cancer is going to be at the earlier stage, and it is going to be stage 3 or stage 4 or whatever it is. Next. So this is what they used to call it as the master, or sometimes they used to call it as master-slave transluminal robotic. In that way, you have the next technology which has been developed is called the NOTES, N-O-T-E-S, which is natural orifice transluminal robotic surgery. So basically what you can able to see here is, the doctor can able to use this particular console, navigate this particular tube, and you can able to use that slave manipulated to carry out the complete surgical operations. Next. So benefits of clinicians. So obviously it enables endoscopic to perform intricate procedures otherwise normally performed by the surgeons. Inductive, easy to use, very short learning curve. Next. what are the benefits for the patients? So the first one is going to be the minimally invasive. Yeah, obviously you are not going to create holes, no holes. That means it is no scars. Shorter hospitalization stays, if any. And obviously when you look into the costs, it's going to be the lower costs. Next. So this is what I told you. Just now we are talking about another surgical operation. We used to call it as NOTES, which is the natural orifice transluminal endoscopic surgery. So can you go to the next slide? So this is the complete picture, where you can able to see all the major elements. So you have the master-slave console, and then you can able to see the complete vision in a camera on the screen. So you have the surgical navigational system, so there is a slave manipulator, and you have the endoscopist, and there is a surgeon. Next. So this is quite interesting. So what is the state of the art of wireless capsule endoscopy? So what basically you can able to see is, globally, what are the different companies, they have come up with this particular technology where they have invented a capsule kind of robot. So all that what you have to do is just you have to take it and use a navigation system to navigate that particular capsule to almost go to any corner of your organs, correct? So you have, basically there are so many companies, right? I'm sorry, it's not much of time, so I have to rush. Next slide. So this is one particular example. So you have one particular company called PillCam colon 2, so which is used as a capsule. You can navigate that particular capsule through your colon, correct? So you have the company name. You can able to see the specifications. That's the most interesting thing, which is 1.1 centimeters in diameter, and hardly it is going to be 3.1 centimeter long, and it takes the snapshots 4 to 35 frames per second. Next. So you have other companies like Microcapsule. Next. Magnetic maneuverable capsule. Yeah, this are the different companies. This comes from the University of Hamburg. Next. So this another type, which is under research, which is a pill, which comes along with all the propellers. And again, the best thing is look into the specifications. It's only 1 centimeter diameter, and it is going to be around 4.5 centimeters long, and it takes the images at 2 frames per second. Next. So there's another type, which works on the principle of magnetism, which is called the magnetic internal mechanism capsule. Next. So this is the second type, another type. Next. And it's also another type. Next. So this is what the people used to do. Like in case, before you want to study the stomach, like, you can able to use this particular capsule, you can able to tag it. Like just you need to inhale it, and the capsule will go inside. It will study the inner lining of the stomach. So the portion which was damaged, it can able to tag, and later by using that particular tagging, the doctors can able to identify this is the region where you are supposed to carry out the surgery, correct? Next. So this another thing. Next. Weight management. This is quite interesting. So nowadays you can able to see, mostly in Asian countries, obesity has become a major issue, isn't it? So how you can able to bring down that particular weight management. So people have come up with some advanced technologies. So basically what you can able to see here is you can able to take the particular capsule, inhale it, and once it goes inside the stomach, it will bulge like a balloon so that you won't feel hunger, and you can able to control how long that particular balloon can able to stay inside your stomach. So if you feel, based on my weight, I don't want to eat 3 times or 4 times, but I wanted to feel my stomach must be quite full, right? You can able to use this particular technology, right? Next. Okay, this is the complete procedure. Okay, next. Okay, never mind, I'll stop it here, okay, because there's so many slides here. So I end up my session over here, and once again I thank the audience for your valuable time sitting in front of me listening to this. Thank you very much.
My question is about safety of the technology. how important it is to have fault-tolerant robotic devices.
Sorry, bro?
Fault-tolerant. Fault. When, let's say you got some electric motors,
okay,
and in the middle of surgery, one of them breaks, how robust, how tolerable they should be to fault, to breaking or being faulty.
I think from my perception, like when we are going to carry out a surgical procedure, like obviously the amount of power and whatever motors we are going to mix into the robotic arm is not going to carry a heavy load. So meaning the actuators, in order to move, in case we are going to talk about the motors we are going to use it is all...
I mean, they're all top grade, I understand. They are medical grade, top grade. But in this kind of areas, I think, I don't know, I did some research many years ago, 10 years ago, I'm not doing it anymore. One of the important issues to be able to be robust to some faults, like having some redundant actuators, extra actuators to complete, and it's not to harm the patients. Just wondering whether that's a very active area of research to complement what you summarized.
I think based on my studies, when I go through different materials, and especially the company, the earlier one I showed you, the DaVinci surgical system, I mean that particular American company, when they start developing the complete robotic surgical system, as you say, the actuators, according to them, the design they are going to have, which can be able to withstand for 1 or 2 years, so absolutely in terms of sustainability and reliability, I don't know what type of material they are going to use it, but basically in terms of safety and the concern you are talking about, they say it's not going to be a big issue because they have the technology and they can do it.
Let's not say never is never. No, it can happen. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Prof.
Any other question from the members of the floor? We can take one more. Anybody? No? If
is Dr. Alpha Pagedubaba. Okay, he's actually involved in artificial intelligence. A lot of research work done in artificial intelligence. And his topic today will be on wearable technology, assisting rehabilitation, improving quality of life. On that note, I'd like to invite Dr. Alpha to present his notes.
In a very awkward position. I'm between you and your tea break. So I promise not to drag it. So some Q&As. My name is actually Alpha Agape. That's my official name. I don't have any siblings, Beta or Gamma. So it's just me, Alpha, right? So I'm a senior lecturer at Monash University in the School of Engineering, and I'll be talking about this topic, wearable technologies, and how it can assist in rehab and actually improving quality of life. Before I go further, I cannot take sole credit for the work which I'm going to share with you guys today. It is a team of us which has developed the content which I'll be sharing with you today. Right? Among them are my postgraduate students, there are research interns, as well as honor year students. Okay? So these are some of them whose work I have referred to for today's content. So I want to share with you our work from our lab in these 3 aspects, right? Looking at standing posture, our common everyday balance, walking, our gait, as well as our work in gait rehabilitation. So these are the 3 main topics we'll be looking at. So the first section, improving human postural control. So our work on improving human postural control we propose this concept of stochastic resonance. All right. Now this concept, let me try and explain it to you in 2 different examples. The first example is on your left. Alright, so now assume you have an original image, alright, a clear image, and this is our reference, right? So let's say we now have an image which has degraded in quality and is very low in its nature. So you get this image here, the dark one. Now stochastic resonance say that we can actually retrieve the signal or the content of this image by adding a certain characteristics of noise, right? So that is this section here. So if I were to add this noise to my weakened signal, I will be able to retrieve to a certain extent my original image. So this is the concept of stochastic resonance. This is looking at it in terms of an image. Now if you're looking at it in terms of a 1D signal, alright, so let's see a sinusoidal wave here. Now this is a weak sinusoidal wave and it falls below a certain threshold. So the threshold is up here. So the concept of stochastic resonance says that if I were to modulate or to add noise into this signal, what's going to happen is that I will now be able to detect this signal. Right, so this is a very rough concept or explanation of what stochastic resonance is. So applying it to human posture, now when we stand, what happens is our body sways to the front in the anterior, posterior, and to the left and right in the medial lateral. Right? The body then takes this information to maintain our posture, to maintain an upright position. Now as we age, as we degrade, as we age, this ability to sense the forward and left and right sway degrades and then resulting in a fall. This degradation is a result of insensitivity, degrading sensitivity at the feet. So what we are proposing is that if we could apply some form of mechanical noise to the feet, it could perhaps improve postural control. So that's what this experiment here is about. So we went around looking for a medical grade vibration module, okay? And what we did was we tried to incorporate this module into the footwear of our subjects, okay? So we were interested to measure three main parameters: the joint angles from optical motion cameras, the postural sway measured through force plates, as well as the muscle activity measured through EMG signals. All right. Now this is the experimental setup. So we got them to stand on a flat ground as well on a foam board, right, to stress out the balancing ability. Now what we were able to see is that when we gave different types of noise to our subjects, we saw that their muscles reacted differently to the noise. So which means the muscles reacted differently when we gave different noise, so which means they were being activated differently. And this resulted in a change in how they were able to maintain their posture on the force plate. Right? So this blue ellipse here is basically our control posture. And when we gave, for example, in this case, this was brown noise, we saw that the posture of our subjects improved significantly. So giving different characteristics of noise help ensure a better posture for our subjects. So what does this mean? Moving forward, all right, we can see that the nature of noise supplied to the feet can actually improve or help improve posture for our subjects. So what we're going to do next is to investigate whether this is true for the older adults. Our current test groups were young, healthy subjects. Okay? So that's for standing. The next section would be walking, or in terms of gait. Now, walking in itself is very cyclic and very repetitive, right? So we were thinking in our lab, if we could come up with a way to estimate our gait parameters, because traditionally, if you want to quantify your gait, your style of walking, you will need to make your way to a gait clinic, which normally looks like this. They will have optical cameras, they will have force plates, and they will have a walkway. So you need to walk in this clinic before you can assess your gait. So what we were thinking is if we could come up with a wearable system which is able to estimate your walking parameters, your kinematics. So what we did was we got 50 subjects to come into our lab to do a couple of trials. So we had a total data of 750 data sets representing different walking styles. So we used these data sets and we trained it in a neural network architecture. All right, so this is us collecting the data. So we pushed all this data into a neural network to see if we are able to estimate and to predict joint angles. All right. Now, what we saw is that our network is able to actually predict the joint kinematics, the kinematics of your lower limbs pretty accurately. So this is how it works at the best case scenario. And in this next slide here is how it works in the worst case scenario. So the worst case scenario, if you look at it, has some amount of oscillation, yes, but it generally follows the pattern of the ground truth. So the red lines represent the ground truth signal which we want to achieve, whereas the blue lines represent the estimated signals. So we tried two different network architectures, all right, so this is a bit technical. So we tried a wavelet neural network as well as a traditional multi-layer perceptron. We saw that with the wavelet neural network, we were able to actually reduce the training time as well as the computational cost. So instead of using so many hidden neurons, the wavelet network enabled us to use a far less number of neurons. So that's in terms of walking. So next section would be on our rehab section, or rehab wing of the lab, where we are actually working on a reciprocal gait orthosis. Now we know that traditional rehab relies on functional electrostimulation or TENS units to stimulate the muscles so that the muscles don't go into disuse or atrophy, right? But the issue with this method is that it really depends on the nature of your muscle. If your muscle is already weakened, then when you stimulate the muscle, the amount of force which is generated is still going to be weak. So which means you can't do anything functional with a weakened muscle. So what we are actually proposing is to have a orthosis which can actually support the patient and can actually work in tandem with this FES system. So the FES system triggers an initial motion in the muscle, and then the exoskeleton supports the motion for the rest of the way for functional motions like climbing up stairs or going down staircase. So this is a prototype which we have designed. So it's not only simulated, we have actually designed it and it is in our lab, and we're actually working on the trajectory control at the moment. Now at the heart of this exoskeleton is the gearbox. We need a gearbox which is able to drive or to be able to support the weight and the acceleration required to support the patient to walk, to sit and to stand, right? And so this is the gearbox which we have made. Now the gearbox which we have made closely resembles the gearbox which is made in Japan, harmonic drives, but the issue is that harmonic drives they have a limited number of sales which they make a month to countries outside Japan. Alright, so we weren't able to get our hands on a harmonic drive in time. So what we decided to do was to design our own gearbox, which has a almost similar performance. So we tested our gearbox on a lathe machine. So this is a video of the gearbox connected to a lathe machine turning at 2,000 revolutions per minute. So as you can see, there's not much, there's no, in fact, vibration. So this is how our exoskeleton is going to work. So we are working on the trajectory planning right now. So what we have seen is that if we supply an oversimplified trajectory of the leg, then what happens is that the exoskeleton is going to make a very large ankle displacement path. And so this is going to resemble an abnormal gait. Right? So what we're trying to do is to be able to resemble a gait trajectory which closely matches this black line here, which is the actual normal patient walking data. Right? So this work is also done in collaboration with external parties. We have people in the gerontology lab in Monash, Malaysia, as well as my agent in UPM. We're also working with the CSSP research group in UPM, and we are always open to collaboration opportunities. So if you feel, if you think there's an idea which we could work on, just feel free to drop me an email and we can always double click it at a later stage. Any questions? Yes.
I'm Anita from UM. May I know how your exoskeleton design differs from the currently available design in the market? Thanks.
Right, thanks. So from our survey, the existing exoskeletons are all, they control how you walk, they control what you do. Whereas what we have designed is that the wearer or the user will be in charge of how it's going to be done, how the motion is going to be done. So we're going to have an FES system to stimulate the muscle. So the muscle activates first, and then the exoskeleton decides, detects if that motion is sufficient. If it's not sufficient, then the exoskeleton kicks in to support that motion through. So we are trying to focus on the functional motion. So besides FES, we want to be able to support the patient to be able to at least experience the feel of walking as well.
Any other question?
Thank you very much for your presentation. That was very interesting. The first item you were talking about, the postural control.
Balance, yes.
By vibration.
Yes.
So what kind of patient or what kind of disability do you imagine beneficial from, get benefit from that kind of postural control? This question because if the proprioception is disabled. Also, most of the people has no skin sensation or something like that. So I was wondering what kind of patient can be applied by that kind of item.
So our target would be patients with weakened or degraded proprioception. We haven't really tested with people who have completely lost the proprioception. Another thing which I forgot to mention is that the vibration is subsensory, so which means you will not feel the vibration. So it's just below your threshold, so which means it will need to be calibrated for specific individuals. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions? Maybe we can take one more before we go for break.
How are you, Dr. Alba? He's a good friend of me. Okay, Alba. It's a small clarification that, normally when researchers work on medical rehabilitation, in terms of getting the ethics, because from my experience, nowadays getting an ethics, the clearance, like, from the concerned body, sometimes the university plays a role if you have the medical faculty, or sometimes you need to get from other organizations, isn't it? I find it very difficult. What is the problem over there? In fact, to be frank, just 3 months back I submitted a proposal which is all about developing a skeleton on the lower limb side. So, and then the problem came in terms of getting the ethical clearance, to approve my grant. And I was asking the university the procedures. I'm just eager to know how can Monash, because I know there's a lot of projects and a lot of research is more related to biomechanics, like Dr. Person and all these things, like, how in Monash you can able to handle this particular issue, the ethical issue, to get the clearance.
Alright, so to answer the question on ethics, so what I've personally done on my own initiative is to get certified by the GCP, by the Pharmaceutical Board, good clinical practice. So that helps, as well as Monash has its own regulatory ethical board for human research. So working within this confines, understanding what's required actually helps. So the first, in fact, all experiments here have been approved by the Human Ethical Board.
So it means, meaning Monash itself will take care, is it?
Monash has a board which
they have their own board.
Yes, which reviews the procedures and then they decide whether it's approved. Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Dr. Alpha. Please remain on the stage. Now I would like to call upon Dr. Siva Jyoti on the stage to give a certificate of appreciation to Dr. Alpha, our invited speaker today. Dr. Siva and Dr. Alpha. Ladies and gentlemen, now we will be having a tea break until 4 p.m. outside the hall before we continue the conference with parallel oral presentation session. I have one announcement to make. For those who are having a parking ticket, you can validate your ticket at the registration counter so that you don't have to pay when you go out from the parking area. Ladies and gentlemen, for the oral presentation session, there will be 2 parallel sessions conducted. One is in the hall here, and the other session will be held at Discovery Circle 2 at 2nd floor. You can find some signages around the area to guide you to the Discovery Circle 2. We will have a tea break from now until 4 p.m. before we start back with our oral presentation sessions. We estimate to finish all the session by 4:45 p.m. and the conference will continue tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. in this hall for our 3rd keynote session. Thank you very much.
All the audience and the presenters. So your presentation for this particular session is already started. So for this particular session, basically we have 4 papers. And the first paper to be presented is by Dr. S. Krishnan. He is Associate Professor working in Manipal International University, Malaya, Malaysia. And he'll be presenting the paper on the topic Fabrication of Steel Platform actuated by pneumatic artificial muscle for food ankle rehabilitation. So it's a pleasure to invite Dr. S. Krishnan on the stage. You can start your presentation now. Thank you.
Good evening to everyone. Okay. The project is research entitled The Review of Actuators in Foot and Ankle Rehabilitation, and also the fabrication and also the design of steven platform actuated by pneumatics artificial muscle for foot and ankle rehabilitation. So I will present 2 papers both together. So these are some contents of this research. So introduction, review, problem statement, the objective, methodology, result and discussion. So the main keywords of this research is pneumatics artificial muscle, shape memory alloy, which is called as smart materials, dorsiflexion, plantar flexion, and steven platform. Okay, the ultimate aim of this project is to improve the range of motion of the foot and ankle using pneumatics artificial muscle. So these are some currently available ankle rehabilitation devices. Okay, it can be classified according to the low complexity devices, intermediate and also high complexity devices. So in this research, we focus on the intermediate complexity devices such as steven platform actuated by the SMA and also actuated by the pneumatics artificial muscle. So we can see here some limitation in the low complexity devices, okay, such as it's limited in terms of range of motion and also just improve the balance only. If we go to the high complexity devices, they are very high cost. Of course, the range of motion is very accurate comparing with the intermediate, but it's very expensive and also we need some clinical assistant to operate this machine. Okay, and also the price of these prototypes. Okay, some literature review regarding the range of motion induced by the various prototypes. So we can observe here the maximum range of motion for the dorsiflexion and also flexion. Plantar flexion is up to 20 degree and negative 20 degree. So for the basic fundamental low complexity devices, there are various examples such as elastic band, foam roller, and also wobble board. Okay, so the limitation in terms of movement of ankle as well as improve the balance only. So for the intermediate, so we can see in the figure 4, steven platform actuated by the double acting cylinder. So the main disadvantages of this is a sudden movement and also unsuitable for the medical rehabilitation environment because of the, it's producing sound because of the pressure 1 to 5 bar. Sudden movement which can cause injury in the foot and ankle for the patients. The existing process, we can see the steerable platform actuated by the shape memory alloy. Shape memory alloy is smart materials which contain nickel and titanium. So the actuation temperature for the SMA is 35 degree up to, can go up to 80 degrees Celsius. It contains two bases which we can call as a martensite and also orthotics. So in this case we are using a low base temperature, which is the actuation temperature is 35 degree up to 70 degrees Celsius. So the range of motion for the various devices is shown here. So the next articles or research, we are going to see how the pneumatics artificial muscle can be used to activate the steerable platform. So normally the pneumatics muscle is first invented in the 1950s, and also the ultimate aim is for the painting application. Okay, the basic working principle is, you can see, we will apply pressure. It contains internal and external. Internal sleeve, not sleeve, we call it silicone rubber tube. External is a braided sleeve, such as a nylon, stainless steel, and also silk braided materials. So it can contract up to 10% from its original, okay, which we call as a displacement, whereby we will use in the steerable platform to move the upper platform. So the objective to design and fabricate the pneumatics artificial muscle, to fabricate steerable platform, to test the important mechanical properties such as a force. So in this research, 3 diameter of the pneumatics artificial muscle was fabricated, 8 mm, 10 mm, and also 12 mm. After that, the artificial muscle which is produce higher force and also higher displacement are used to fabricate with a steerable platform to improve or to induce the range of motion. So the contraction of the pneumatics artificial muscle, okay, internal tube is a silicone, or we can use a latex or chloroprene, which using the festo. Okay, external braided sleeve, okay, we can use a nylon and also stainless steel. Okay, the external braided sleeve, the function is to prevent it explode. If we apply, suddenly we apply, just examples, we apply 6 or 7 bar. Okay, it's possibilities the muscle can be explode. So to prevent the explosion, so we are using the braided sleeve. So these are some examples of various pneumatics artificial muscle which is currently used. Okay, the application of PEMS, okay, various application. Okay, the pneumatics artificial muscle was tested in the STEM apparatus in the Universiti Teknologi Petronas. Okay, the ultimate aim is to measure the force produced by the muscle. Okay, the steerable platform with the upper platform under 50 cm and also 300 lower platform was fabricated. After that, 12 pneumatics artificial muscle was fixed in the platform to move the upper platform. So we can place our foot in the upper platform, okay, to measure the mobility of the range of motion of the foot and ankle. So these are some prototype of the developed steerable platform acted by the muscle prototype. Okay. So now we want to do the comparison between the pneumatics artificial muscle and also the shape memory alloy. So figure 9 shows the steven platform actuated by the shape memory alloy. So the maximum range of motion for the plantar and also dorsiflexion is at 20 degree and 20 degree. So design and development of steven platform, so these are the methodology and also the step which was conducted. Okay. At the end, we can observe that the 12 mm pneumatics artificial muscle, okay, which is fabricated with a steven platform, produced 31.73 degree, comparing with 10 mm and 8 mm. If we compare with the shape memory alloy, this pneumatics artificial muscle induce the range of motion higher, 31.73, comparing with 20 degree just now with the shape memory alloy. So these are the range of motion induced by the various diameter of the pneumatics artificial muscle. Okay, this is various range of motion produced by the shape memory alloy. We can observe it can produce 24.8 degree of the range of motion at the 50 degrees Celsius. Actuation is a 50 degrees Celsius. This is a 150 mm upper platform. Okay, we fabricate to 150 as well as a 300 mm, so that we can change the upper platform according to the necessity of the patient. So this figure 11 shows the 300 mm upper platform, steven platform, with the diameter of the shape memory alloy is 0.508, which is produced 24.78 degree of a range of motion. So at the conclusion, we can say the developed steven platform actuated by the pen produced a range of motion of 31.73, okay, which is can promote the dorsal and plantar flexion, comparing with the existing literature review. So the efficiency also is at 92.74%. So these are some journals publication from this research. Okay, effect of various, okay, and also some conference proceedings. We obtained some medals in the Universiti Teknologi Petronas, bronze and also silver medal, as well as a gold medal 2018. So some references. Thank you.
Thank you. The platform by using different subjects with different weight and whatever it is.
Currently, we are collaborating with the Yayasan Sultan Idrisha in Bercamipo. It is a rehabilitation center. Okay. We already get a lot of input from Dato' Ramala. He's head of Department of Orthopedics. Based on the input which is given by the Dato' Rama, we fabricated this one.
Okay.
We will test, because there are a lot of SOP need to do before we have tested with the patient, right? So we will do future.
So that means you have already, the data is
yes.
University. That's a good thing.
And also we will collaborate with the hospital Raja Permaisuri. We already collaborated, so we are waiting for the ethics.
Okay.
So that's what we can do testing with the patient.
That sounds impressive. Thank you very much. Give him a hand of applause. This is his first paper he presented. Okay. Again, Dr. S. Krishan from Manipal University.
Good afternoon. I'm Ivote Ling. I'm a master student from Utah. And today I'm going to talk about my research with the title, The Influence of Manganese Oxide on the Densification and Mechanical Properties of 3YTZP Ceramics. I will go through a little bit background of ceramics, advanced ceramics, zirconia, 3YTZP, and manganese oxide, the importance of this study, the problem statement, the aims and 2 objectives, the literature review, the methodology, results and discussion, conclusion, and lastly, the future recommendation. Okay, ceramics is traditionally being fabricated as tiles, toiletries, bowls, and plaques. And due to enhancement of technology, it has been further studied and developed. Advanced ceramics, for example, hydroxyapatite, zirconia, and alumina, has been fabricated as bioceramics or biomedical ceramics in order to face the surplus demand of biomedical artificial bone substitute. And today I'm going to focus on zirconia, which is biocompatible, bio-inertness, and possess high fracture toughness. In the diagram you can see among the bioceramics, zirconia possesses the most promising fracture toughness and Young's modulus. Most importantly, through this project, TZP doped with manganese oxide through conventional sintering. Sintering is a term used to describe firing the material up to thousands of temperature in order to enhance the mechanical properties and densification at lower sintering temperature. Because with pure TZP, which is undoped, it requires high sintering or firing temperature up to 1,400 degrees Celsius in order to achieve the promising density level, but it will undesirably induce grain coarsening. Grain coarsening is harmful to the mechanical properties of the sintered samples. Okay, the aim of this research is to fabricate doped TZP with manganese oxide with 2 types of concentration, which are 0.3% and 0.5% at lower sintering temperatures with improved mechanical properties. And secondly, I will be going to compare between the pure, which is undoped, with doped sintered TZP in terms of relative densities and mechanical properties. For example, Young's modulus, firstly, secondly, viscous hardness, and the fracture toughness. Okay, let me brief you a little bit about the literature review that I've done. TZP is the zirconia, which is stabilized by 3 mole percentage of yttria, so that it can retain at tetragonal phase after the sintering process. It possesses high fracture toughness, which means it can resist crack propagation, reduce the brittleness, high wear resistance, which means it will not release debris due to joint movement, high Young's modulus, which means it can withstand high load in every direction. High density means total bio-inertness after implantation. High viscous hardness means it can resist permanent indentation and scratching. And lastly, good aesthetic properties. It is suitable to be used as dental restoration. There are 3 examples of the application of TZP, which are femoral head of total hip replacement, total hip replacement, total knee replacement, and dental restoration, for example, bridge and crown restoration, and metal-free dental implants. Because by using metal alloy, it will cause hypersensitivity after implantation. Zirconia is sometimes termed as ceramic steel because it possesses comparable Young's modulus and strength to that of steels. The reason of opting manganese oxide as a dopant is because it possesses lower melting point when compared to normal sintering temperature of TZP. It possesses the melting point of 535 degrees Celsius, and it is effective in grain boundaries modification of zirconia matrix and dissolution of manganese oxide in the matrix by Mn-rich formation at the grain boundaries, and increase the zirconia ion mobility across and within the regions of grain boundaries, and hence activate the grain boundary diffusion, which means promote the densification and enhance the mechanical properties at lower sintering temperature. This is the flow chart of my methodology. The green bodies, the pure and the doped samples are being fabricated and subjected to cold isostatic pressing at the pressure of 200 megapascal for a minute, and subjected to conventional sintering between temperature 1002 to 2004 for doped samples, 1002 to 2005 degrees Celsius for pure samples, holding time of 2 hours, cooling and heating rate of 10 degrees C per minute, and the sinter samples are subjected to density measurement based on Archimedes principle, and the disc samples are subjected to grinding and polishing by using silicon carbide sandpaper and diamond paste up to 1 micrometer so that it is suitable to be used for viscous hardness and fracture toughness determination. The bar samples are then subjected to Young's modulus determination. This is the sintering profile. The green bodies, you can see the green particles. There are a lot of pores, and when the temperature is slowly increased and reaching the sintering temperature and hold for a period of time and cool to room temperature, the pores are being eliminated and clear grain boundaries are being formed, which means high density. Firstly, I'm going to discuss about the result, which is the relative density. The orange line represents the pure samples. At the temperature of 1002, it possesses only 83% of relative densities. And when the temperature progresses and increases up to 1350 degrees Celsius, the relative density is more than 95%. But for the doped samples, which are the gray and the blue line, they possess more than 95% of the relative densities when the temperature is more than 1250 degrees Celsius. And especially for 0.5 wet percentage doped samples, the blue line, at the temperature of 1200 degrees Celsius, it can possess more than 96% of relative densities and throughout the sintering region. And we can conclude that doping of manganese oxide is effective in promoting the densification at lower sintering temperature, which is between 1002 to 1250, instead of firing up to 1350 and 1400 degrees Celsius. Secondly, it's the Young's modulus. The trend is similar to that of relative densities. For the pure samples, the Young's modulus increased from 130 gigapascal at 1200 degrees Celsius to more than 200 gigapascal at a temperature of 1350 degrees Celsius. And for the doped samples, regardless of doping concentration and sintering temperature, the Young's modulus value fluctuated between 190 to 205 gigapascal. Based on ISO standard, for biomaterial application, the Young's modulus should be more than 200 gigapascal. And again, doping of manganese oxide is effective in promoting the Young's modulus at lower sintering temperature. Thirdly is the viscous hardness. At the temperature of 1200 degrees Celsius, for pure samples, the orange line, it only possesses 6.8 gigapascal and increased up to more than 30 gigapascal when the temperature is more than 1350 degrees Celsius. And for the doped samples, regardless of doping concentration, it can possess more than 13 gigapascal at the temperature of 1200 degrees Celsius. Which means the doping of manganese oxide is effective in promoting viscous hardness at lower sintering temperature. And lastly is the fracture toughness. Regardless of doping or undoped samples, the fracture toughness fall between the reasonable range, which is 5 to 7, which means the doping of manganese oxide will not disrupt the tetragonal phase stability. In conclusion, we have found out the substantial role of opting the doping of manganese oxide up to 0.58% because it can produce theoretically with relative densities more than 96%, because hardness of more than 30 gigapascal, Young's modulus of more than 200 gigapascal, and fracture toughness of 5 to 7. And through doping of manganese oxide, the temperature has been reduced successfully up to 100 degrees Celsius. And in future, we'll be looking into the role of concentration of manganese oxide in suppressing the hydrothermal aging in 380 ceramics. Thank you.
So when you're talking about the doping, right, you said the magnesium oxide you are going to dope, correct? So normally when you're talking about the doping procedure, like you'll be adding some other material into it, am I right? No, in your research, you were talking about the doping, correct? Doping with the magnesium oxide. So if I'm not mistaken, the term doping is something related to adding other materials inside, isn't it? Some impurity item, because I am relating to the electronic side. In semiconductor, you talk about the process called the doping, where you bring some impurity atoms, add with silicon and germanium, and try to restructure the material content, conductivity, properties of the materials can be changed. So is it the same thing we're talking about here?
Yeah, doping is to adding the foreign material.
Okay, what type of material is that?
The manganese oxide. The pure theoretically is doped with manganese oxide. So the manganese oxide is the foreign material doped into the pure theoretically to enhance the mechanical properties and density to sinter it at lower sintering temperature. Because normally need to sinter at 1004, but now by adding manganese oxide can be reduced by 100 degrees Celsius.
That's great. Thank you, Ms. Ting. Give her a round of applause.
Thank you for the introduction and for the opportunity to be here today. I am Linda Paterno, a PhD student of the Biorobotic Institute of Scuola Superiore Sant'Anna in Pisa, Italy. And I'm presenting you a work focused on the variable stiffness and shape interface, which aims to improve the comfort in orthesis and prosthesis. This work is developed in the framework of the MOTO project, which is a collaboration between our institute and the INAIL National Workers Compensation Prosthetic Center. The aim of the project is the design and the development of a new paradigm of a transfemoral robotic prosthetic system equipped with a smart socket and a bidirectional interface and robotic active joint to improve the comfort and the acceptability of the prosthesis and the physical and the cognitive efficiency of the patients. In particular, our group is working on the design of the smart prosthetic socket by means of innovative techniques and smart materials. Indeed, today the socket, which is the human-machine interface of limb prosthesis, is made of rigid materials which can cause several dermatological problems for patients. This is mainly due to the several parameters which play a key role at this interface and which are the temperature and the humidity increment due to the socket barrier, which affect the thermoregulation system of the limb, the volume and the shape change affecting the residual limb over time, and affecting the fitting of the prosthesis, and the pressure and the shear stress applied on the tissues, which are not customized to bearing loads. Then you can understand that an interface able to change its stiffness and its shape on the basis of the task performed by the patients has the potential to really improve the comfort of a wearable device. There are a lot of technologies in literature that can be used to tune the stiffness of a device, for example, pneumatic system or low melting point material. However, for our application, the most suitable solution resulted to be the layer jamming actuation. A jamming system is based on several layers of low-cost materials, like, for example, sandpapers, contained in a sealed chamber made of flexible material like latex, silicone, or plastic sheets. In its resting state, a jamming system is highly compliant, so highly soft, and while when you apply a vacuum pressure inside, the frictional interaction between the layers increase the bending stiffness of the whole system. The system concept that we proposed is based on at least 3 chambers, 2 based on the layer jamming actuation to tune the stiffness of the interface, and 1 or more inflatable chambers interposed in the middle to allow the shape change of the device. So as you can see in this video, starting from a planar and soft configuration of the device, at first the bottom jamming chamber is stiffened, then the inflatable chamber is inflated, pushing on the upper jamming chamber, which is soft. Then the upper jamming chamber is stiffened, the inflatable chamber deflated, forcing the bottom jamming chamber to adhere to the upper one. At the end, the new configuration can be locked simply by applying the vacuum pressure inside both the jamming chamber. To evaluate the performance of the jamming solution, we carried out several bending tests to evaluate the stiffness of the chambers by changing the numbers and the type of the material used for the sheet. And the experimental result showed that the best solution is a jamming chamber with 15 layers of sandpaper P180. Then a wearable band was manufactured, and it was wrapped around the limb of an healthy voluntary subject to confirm the applicability of the system. By putting a TechScan pressure sensor between the band and the limb, we tested the system starting from a soft configuration when the subject was standing. Then the system was activated, and you can see in the slide that it resulted in an increment of the pressure applied on the tissues, and so of the fitting of the system. Then detecting the position of the subject by an accelerometer, when the subject switched from a standing position to a sitting one, the device was deactivated, became soft, and this resulted in pressure relief applied on the tissues. When the applicability of the wearable band was confirmed, we improved the control circuit of the device, which resulted in a new control unit of only 700 grams and contained 5 solenoid valves connected between the chambers and a two-stage oil pump. To conclude, we demonstrate the applicability of a variable stiffness and shape interface, which can be regulated on the basis of the task performed by the subject, and future works will be focused on a validation on patients and on the design of an ad hoc system to be integrated in a transfemoral prosthetic socket. This will be possible also thanks to a clinical study that is now in progress at the Prosthetic Center and which aims to characterize the volume fluctuation affecting the transfemoral residual limbs over time by using a 3D handheld scanner and the pressure distribution at the residual limb socket interface by using TechScan pressure sensor inside the socket. In addition, the working principle proposed in this work could be exploited in other fields, like for example to obtain a working robot or a soft gripper. Thank you for the attention and